worried she's turning into herself. This news summary is best enjoyed in a state of leisurely repose, so sit back, relax, and let the waves of condensed news gently lap at your brain. This is the Onion Week in Review. Hoping to foster a lifelong connection to the airline, Delta announced the launch of its official alumni magazine, Flown, this week, a quarterly publication for people who have been passengers with the airline at some point in the past. A press release from Delta confirmed that the magazine will feature obituaries, wedding announcements, and profiles of prominent flyers that celebrate the shared experiences and interests of the airline's 900 million alumni.
I think it's a nice thing for Delta to do. I mean, it's always interesting to just skim through an issue, see what the old boarding group's up to. It kind of makes me nostalgic for the few hours back when I was on that flight to Tampa. Simpler days.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
And we're back.
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
We interrupt this program.
We interrupt this program to bring you a program.
What was the
Previous Leon. Yeah,
previous-
he's the mascot of all reruns. Right?
previous
Yeah, Leon.
Yeah, it's Leon, but his first name is Previous. Right? Previous Leon. He's just a little character that runs around and he gives you the recap of all the shows before
quite famous.
The next. Yeah, it's a household. He's a household dude. How do you not know Previous Leon? It is Free Talk Live. The telephone number is 603-283-6160 because we're a live call-in radio program where you can call in, talk about whatever is on your mind. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the authentic Lord Reverend Dr. Captain Kickass Buckshot Esquire, if you will, LLC.
Oh, okay.
Joining me,
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
it's the first time you've heard the LLC.
Yeah, I didn't know you were incorporated or whatever
well,
that
That's
stands
limited,
for.
limited liability.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That just means I'm not liable for anything.
Well, limited.
Like, I say a bunch of stuff on the radio, but, like, don't
Yeah.
listen to me. Like,
Yeah.
Or if you do, like, you take full responsibility. I will take none of the responsibility for you listening to me spouting on the radio.
Right.
So, that is all.
Okay.
Captain's log, star dates 12172023. Ladies and gentlemen, you may now move about the cabin. This is your captain speaking. Nikki, welcome back.
Thank you.
Mark did an adequate job, I guess, of replacing you, but, you know, he's a dude.
Yeah.
So we didn't quite get the...
I actually
you know.
kind of forgot that I wasn't here
How'd
last
you-
week,
how'd
and
you
I'm like, I
forget?
feel like I'm kind of it feels like it's been longer. I'm like, right, yes.
He wasn't
You're like-
very animated.
Well, we
That's something you would say.
we didn't have... So normally, for those who want to watch, you can go to, like, watch.freetalklive.com or find our Odyssey channel or our Twitch channel and watch. I don't know why you'd want to watch. We're a radio program, but whatever. We do have some cameras up here. They rotate around, and you can watch us while we do the show. We have a thing set up for, like, if somebody, particularly Mark specifically,
Yeah.
is remote hosting, that it'll show, like, a little picture-in-picture on the screen of him. And I screwed that up somehow. It was way easier than I thought it was going to be, but then, like, I ran out of time before the show started. So we resurrected Facsimile Mark, the photo that hangs on the wall back here, and taped him to a chair. And not Mark, the photo.
I thought that's what you were talking about at first, right? So the video call-in type of deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
We bring him in over on an online app or
Okay.
whatever, and then we make it so that he can appear, like, sort of picture-in-picture if you're watching on our video streams over
But I mean, the
Watch.Free
photo's
Talk
just
Live.
as good. He looks nice in that picture. It's a good picture.
He's a little less gray in that photo than he is, well, now. Photo's a bit dated.
He's captured in time.
Yes. But I think even he would prefer that photo because that's how Mark rolls. Mark, if you're listening,
Oh, thank you.
thank you. Thank you very much. The commentators have left the building. We're supposed to talk about stuff because we're a talk radio program, right? All right.
That's what we do.
Call in and change the subject, please.
603-283-6160 to kick things off tonight. Convicted Kohl's thieves. For those of you who don't know what Kohl's is, it's a department store.
Kohl's Cash.
KOHL'', I believe that originated in Wisconsin.
Really?
The Kohl's were a very
was a cheese
wealthy,
shop, wasn't
wealthy
it?
family, or at least became wealthy because of their chain of department stores. At any rate, convicted Parker being in the, I believe, Colorado, Denver area.
Denver Metro.
Convicted Parker Kohl's thieves argued for lesser charge because the items were on sale.
That's pretty funny. That's kind of clever. I'm not really into thievery, but that's pretty clever.
I'm not either, but like, I haven't read this. All I know is that they were convicted for, I think, more than $2,000 worth of merchandise.
I think they should get at least 30% off their sentence.
It's the holidays, right? Everything's on sale.
I mean, did they include the tax on that, too?
Like, it
Sales
was
tax.
Black Friday, though.
Yeah.
Did they enter the coupon code? Right? Did they get a gift card or something? Like, how,
Right.
how is this calculated, right? Is it the retail value? Is it the wholesale value?
Should be the wholesale value.
Is it the on sale value?
Yeah.
Like, we don't know these things.
Enter the code jail30 for 30% off your sentence.
Shoplifting 25.
Limited offers only.
That's it's going to happen in California. That's what it's going to do. That's what it's going to, yeah. This from Denver7.com. 2 men convicted of felony theft for stealing more than $2,000 worth of merchandise from a Parker Kohl's store argued in court for a lesser charge because the items were on sale and they had coupons.
Yeah, they got their Kohl's
see?
Cash.
They got the Kohl's Cash.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Like I said, I didn't. I try and read some of this stuff before, or at least skim through it, but
Yeah.
like I was short on time today. So they had coupons, depending on who you are and how you pronounce things.
Coupon.
According to the 18th Judicial District, Michael Green, age 50, and Byron Bolden, age 37, were formally sentenced this month after being convicted of retail theft at the Kohl's store this year, according to a Tuesday news release from the Judicial District. The 2 men, dubbed KitchenAid Mixer Crew,
Oh, man.
because of the high-end KitchenAid appliances, in addition to brand-name shoes and clothing that were stolen in the case.
Yeah, I mean, they were going for expensive items then. KitchenAids are no joke. That's like $500.
The KitchenAid crew.
Yeah, they only stole like 3 KitchenAids.
Like
So
one,
$2,000.
I never did this, but I was told a tale of this. And for those of you who work in, what do they call the people who loss prevention? The people who like monitor
Shrinkage.
the stores for like
Yeah.
shoplifting and that kind of stuff.
Shrinkage, it's called now.
Well, I thought that was related to inflation, like shrinkflation.
No. That's corporate speak for shoplifting.
For theft
Right.
is shrinkage.
How much shrinkage?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's like negative growth.
It's kind of sad that it's such an issue that they needed to make like a special word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't just theft. That's like what it is.
Right.
But they
But
have
you can't
to
say
like
theft.
yeah. So.
Like, and
Just
maybe they
shrinkage.
changed it, but like if you wanted to get a job helping a retailer like Kohl's, for example, reduce the amount of theft, you would get a job in loss prevention.
Yeah.
Right.
You would hire a loss prevention officer, I believe they call it, even though it's not has nothing to do with government
Unarmed, probably.
Yeah, or
Yeah, it's like
or
a mall
cops or
cop.
anything. Yeah, kind of. It's more like monitor the inventory, see what gets stolen, rearrange stuff so that stuff that's easily stolen isn't like right near the door, for example, so like people can just grab one on their way out or whatever, that kind of thing. I've heard of people doing this. I've never done this, mind you, and I only know this from hearsay. You go into a retail store, Kohl's, Walmart, Best Buy, something like that, and you find yourself a real nice big screen TV or something, right? Something, high dollar, right? Not the highest, right? You don't want to draw too much attention, but, something, more than you could afford anyway. And then you buy it on like a credit card or something, right? And then you check out and then you leave with your item and you put it in your car or whatever. And then you bring that receipt back later that same day. right? Preferably within, a half an hour or something like that, because those
I
receipts
just
will
bought
have
this thing.
What you do is you walk back into the store and you tape that receipt to a box containing the exact same item you just bought, and then you walk out with the new item as well. So you basically get 2 for 1, right? Because what do they check on your way out the door? They check your receipt.
Yeah.
So if you're carrying out a TV and you show them your receipt on the way out the door, you or somebody else, right? Your partner in crime or whatever it is, comes back with the receipt in their pocket. They go pick up that same TV in the box and tape the receipt to it and walk out the door.
I've heard of people doing something similar where they'll buy the TV.
Yep.
And then try to return it. So they'll grab another TV and then go to the counter, the customer service, and say, "I would like to return this thing."
Yep.
Oh,
and then they get the money from it, but then they also have the TV.
That's the final part of this particular one, is that you go in and you buy the thing, we'll say legit, right? Or at least so it appears. So pay with cash, pay with a credit card, probably with cash. So your name isn't associated with the transaction, hopefully. Yeah. Right, if any of that comes back on you, but whatever. And then you get the receipt, and then you go out to your car, and then your partner in crime comes back in with the receipt, and then grabs another box of the exact same item, the TV, or if you will, and tapes the receipt to it and walks out with that. And then once you successfully have the second TV in your car or whatever it is in the parking lot, then you bring the other TV back with the original receipt and be like, "Oh yeah, no, sorry, this was a gift, but they already got one." Right, and then they give you your money back. The way I was told that it happened was that everything happened in that order. Somebody went in, bought the TV, got the receipt. The partner in crime went back in with the receipt, stuck it to another TV, walked out the door without paying for it. Right, and then the original person who bought it in the first place drove to the next town with another of the same store and returned the original purchase there to get their money back. So they got their money back, and they got a free
doubled
TV.
Their money.
And they got a free TV.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I was just thinking that you'd have to do it at a store that's busy, like in a big city or something, because
in a self-checkout.
You want to do it
if I did this in Keene, they'd be like, "Dude, I just saw you."
Black
They would
Friday.
recognize, you know what I mean?
Do it on Black Friday, right? And something like that.
But with the self-checkouts, that makes things a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a fan of the self-checkout. I know a lot of many libertarian types, voluntarists, anarchists, whatever, are like, no, you're putting people out of work. And it's like, look, I can already bag and check out faster than any cashier.
If I could save 25% more, I'd go and load the truck.
Right.
Too. I mean,
yeah. Right.
Get my food off the truck.
I don't want to spend my time in line waiting behind everybody, right? Whomever those people might be. I would much rather have control over my own checkout experience, scan my own items, pay in, my desired method, and then GTFO on, and if I screw something up, it's on me. But I can already bag. I can't even tell you how many times somebody else has bagged my groceries and, something spilled.
I'm very particular about how my groceries are bagged, and I will put it up. I usually go to Aldi, so I don't have this issue because they just fling it in the cart anyways.
They're fast.
The Aldi's here in town has self-checkout now. Yeah. They left one aisle.
Yeah.
One aisle.
And that's the one that all the old people go through.
I go to that aisle.
I've got to write a check.
I don't work here. You don't pay me, Aldi, because that's kind of the...
Yeah, but I go to that aisle. What are you saying?
I mean,
I think a couple Wednesdays ago we had this conversation with Lori on the show, and she had the same opinion where she was like, she does not like self-checkout because she's basically saying like, I'm not employed by the store, and she doesn't think that, because my argument was I'd prefer to do it just because I'm particular about how things are done, and also if it could save me money, like if they're not having to pay somebody. But her argument was because of theft. Because obviously it's a lot easier to steal stuff very casually, right? And because they still need employees there to monitor it. Well, she doesn't think that it would make things... She thinks it might make things more expensive eventually and not less expensive. Well, I disagree.
I'm with you, and also because Aldi's is already one of these stores that is like, we're going to buy up the tail end of the production and, add a discount and pass the savings on to you. They're already a discount store.
Yeah, they do all of the things.
Quote unquote. They
Yeah.
do the quarter for the shopping
They don't
cart
give you
thing.
bags.
Right,
yeah.
you have to buy bags or bring your own, that kind of thing. So they're already like a store that is trying to give you the best price possible on all of their goods. And I appreciate a store that is their reputation, that is their entire brand.
Yeah.
Instead of increasing prices, right, putting up some self-checkout so that dudes like me who prefer to check out by himself because he can do it quicker and better and it's more to my liking, have the option, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying, all stores should go to self-checkout only. I'm not saying that, right?
They typically
What
have
I'm
both,
saying
right?
is
Yeah.
I prefer the self-checkout, particularly because I'm a single dude. I rarely buy a cart full of anything. You know what I mean? It's always just a couple of things. I opt for the basket usually and not the cart, that kind of a thing.
But the thing, Aldi doesn't take credit cards. They only and the self
they do now.
Well, they don't take credit cards.
I think
the
they do.
Self
I've
checkout
used
is debit only.
Oh, the self-checkout. Okay, so
Right.
I usually use debit, I guess.
I don't know that that's a fact.
But the
because
cashiers do credit, right?
No,
I don't know.
No,
I
because
don't.
that's how they're saving money.
I don't know that's
how
a
they're
fact
saving you
because at the self-checkout at Aldi's, it says cards only.
I believe it's only debit.
It doesn't say debit cards only. It says cards only.
When I first started going to Aldi, was you couldn't use a credit card.
All right,
it was
well,
cash or
I think
debit.
If I have to
And
go
I pay
this
cash.
week, I'll test it. If
I'm
I have
paying
to go
cash,
this week,
and
I'll
you can't
test
use cash at the
Yeah.
self checkout. So if I want to put down some ferns,
Right.
Yeah.
I can't use those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to have a digital payment.
Yeah,
at
I need a
least.
real
Yeah.
person to give my
Yeah.
fake money to.
Yeah.
Yeah, your Monopoly money.
Yeah.
Here you go.
All right. So the two men dubbed the KitchenAid Mixer crew. Apparently, there was some sort of a trial, and at trial, defense attorneys suggested to a jury that their clients should only face a lesser misdemeanor charge because some of the items they stole were being offered on sale.
I wonder if did they steal a Monopoly game and take the get out of jail free card
Right.
too? Like, hey, look, we got a get out of jail free card.
I want to keep one of those in my car so the next
Right?
time I get pulled over
That's
and
actually-
be like, hey, can we see your license and registration? I go, sure. And I reach in for my registration and hand them my license and like
At the very
it's attached.
least, yeah.
Right? Like
I mean, at the very least, I think even if it didn't work, I
it would
think
lighten the
everybody,
situation.
like
Yeah.
everybody would have a good laugh. And I'm sure there are some cops out there who'd be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like they'd think it was
Right.
funny enough where they're like, all right, get out of here.
Yeah,
You know,
it
what I
might
mean?
work.
I'm gonna try that.
I'm gonna have to do that too.
Yeah.
In Colorado, where this story takes place, theft under $2,000 is a misdemeanor offense, but the documented value of the item stolen was $2,094.98, making it a felony.
Oh, so that's the thing. So if they include the sale price, then it would be not felony.
Right.
I'm assuming it brings it down below
mean,
the 2,000 mark.
I would give them that.
I mean, they had the coupons,
They had the coupons.
Yeah.
right? And I mean, did they put sales tax on that $2,000?
I mean, I would go with the sale price to make it not a felony. I mean,
Yeah, I wonder if they
I
include,
don't think that's a ridiculous argument.
I do
Honestly.
wonder if they include theft in their total, right, in their assessment, right?
Yeah,
You know? And by theft, I mean tax.
Yeah.
Sorry.
they were,
You stole these items and we're charging you theft on
Right.
top of the... Yes.
we're thieving from the thieves.
Just double thieving.
Yeah.
The two men were asking the jury to take into account Kohl's coupons and discounts,
It is ridiculous.
which would bring the theft case down to a misdemeanor. However, prosecutors argued that sales and discounts are for paying customers.
I mean, yeah, that's also a pretty legit
Yeah.
comeback to that.
But they had coupons.
They're like, but what about my Kohl's cash? So I have $100 in Kohl's cash. Does that mean that I can
I could get
add
that
that
$94.
to the-
I'm under
Yeah, can
$2,000.
we-
Oh, man.
like bring that into court? So this is,
We're gonna return some items.
Yeah. What's going on here? Oh, sorry, just as we do the show, I'm also monitoring, stuff. that
Social
goes on.
media.
No, like, show operations.
Yeah.
You know.
He's the captain.
Yeah. It's really funny is like I was watching what is it, sports ball?
okay.
Watching some hand egg.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? And it's the beginning of the thing before kickoff or whatever. And the announcers go, "Captain's on the field."
And you're like, what do you mean? I'm right here.
Like, I'm in my kitchen. What are you talking about? Or I'll be watching, some sci-fi show, right? Star Trek or something, whatever, right? And they'll be like,
They're screaming, Captain.
We don't know. We have to ask the captain, right? And I'm like, I'm right here. Right? What do you want to ask me? It's interesting. Having the name Captain has made my life interesting. So anyway, they were asking to take into account the coupons so that they could get it reduced to a misdemeanor. Just because an item is on sale doesn't mean it's free to steal. And these defendants now get to think about this lesson in jail and prison, District Attorney John Kellner said.
Jail and prison.
Whoa.
Yeah. Jail is in
They don't have to get out of prison free card.
Brazil. Quote, retailers in our community are fed up with theft, and my office will actively prosecute these offenders. Good. When are you going to start prosecuting yourself? And the IRS, for that matter, if you're fed up with theft.
Go after them.
Green was sentenced to 15 months in prison. Bolden was sentenced to 90 days in jail with credit.
Oh, he's got credit.
For time served as a condition of 18 months of probation.
Wow.
So there you have it.
So, if you're going to steal stuff, make sure you steal it after Christmas. It's on sale. Get the closeout items or whatever.
Yeah, but even so, they're going to argue that, you walk into any store and they have the regular price and then the tag that says sale, right?
Yeah.
They're going to get you for the regular tag price, not the sale price.
That's interesting.
Is basically what this case is saying, right?
Yeah. So does this set precedent for other?
I'm certain it does.
But in California, it's the
it must.
$950 is the threshold.
$950.
$950, and I think it's a misdemeanor.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's a felony if you exceed that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Wow.
I mean, it's
how about
easier.
just don't steal?
I was about to say, how about you just don't?
Don't steal.
Yeah, don't steal, people. It's libertarianism is pretty simple. Don't take other people's stuff. Don't hit people. Don't force your opinions on others.
Your freedom ends at my nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my freedom depends on literally everybody else being free, right? Which is why I do this show, right? Because freedom is important to me. It's important for me to be as free as I possibly can. The state gets in the way of that, of course, but the way for me to become as free as I possibly can is for everybody to act as if they were a free man as well. And so I do this show for that reason, because the only way for me to get more free than I am currently is for more people to become free as well.
Spreading the message of freedom.
Yeah.
It's true. So I just learned about this concept. Or I mean, it wasn't a new concept for me, but it was a new way to phrase it. So it was from this book called Unschooled, and the concept that they were talking about.
John Taylor Gale?
No, this isn't. This is Carrie McDonald.
Okay.
Raising curious, well-educated children outside the conventional classroom. So the concept was freedom, not license, and essentially what that meant was, and it's in regards to homeschooling, right? But you can put it in regards to not just children, adult humans as well, just in general, but that people have their freedom to choose what they want to do, how they want to spend their time, but not so much that it impedes on the freedom of others.
Very well said. 603-283-6160. Do you have a philosophy of freedom? Do you treat others as if they were free? Give us a call. Let us know. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Still coming up short at the supermarket? I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. You could be suffering shrinkflation. Same price, less stuff. It's not your imagination. That cereal box is skinnier. That bag of Doritos is now a half-ounce smaller, averaging 5 fewer chips per, according to Forbes, which reports that a bottle of Aleve has gone from 100 caplets to 90. Cottonelle Mega Roll toilet paper shrank from 340 sheets to 312 sheets. Is nothing sacred? Compare unit price, not item price. Those name products that are shorting you have to cover the cost of advertising that made you brand loyal, unlike store brands, which in many cases are made by the same supplier. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Benji Hire with a roundup of the biggest headlines from this past week, a week which ended with Hungary blocking a €55 billion or $55 billion aid package for Ukraine, just hours after an agreement was reached for Kiev to start accession talks with the bloc. Hungary maintains close relations with Russia. EU leaders say Ukraine will not be left without support. The war-torn nation's critically dependent on European and American backing as it continues to fight occupying Russian forces. US President Joe Biden insists failing to provide additional aid to Ukraine would be the greatest Christmas gift to Russia's leader Vladimir Putin. In a meeting on Tuesday at the White House with his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky, Mr. Biden urged lawmakers to pass the supplementary funding. But with a 3-week recess looming, the hopes of Congress reaching a deal by the end of the year remain in the balance. Also on Capitol Hill, the House of Representatives has voted to formally open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden, accusing him and his family of corruption. Ira Spitzer has the details.
On this vote, the yeas are 221 and the nays are 212. The resolution is adopted.
The inquiry against President Biden will give them more power to gather evidence ahead of a possible impeachment attempt early next year. Republicans have long alleged corruption in the Biden administration, much of it centered around the president's son Hunter Biden's business dealings, although they have yet to present any conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. Biden said Republicans were wasting time on what he called a baseless political stunt.
As Israel continues with its bombardment of Gaza, there are growing rifts between the government there and the administration stateside, with Joe Biden criticizing Israel for what he calls its indiscriminate bombing, which he fears is losing the country international support. US intelligence suggests nearly half of the Israeli munitions dropped on Gaza are what's known as dumb bombs, in other words, unguided and therefore potentially imprecise. Mr. Biden hit out at what he labels the most conservative government in Israel's history, condemning it for seemingly not wanting a two-state solution. This whilst the United Nations General Assembly voted in favour of a draft resolution urging an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. More than 3/4 of the 193-member General Assembly backed the move, which was vetoed by the United States in the Security Council. Here's Jody Jacobs from the UN headquarters in New York.
Before the vote, both the United States and Austria tried to push for amendments to the text, which it says did not condemn Hamas, but this failed. Egypt, who tabled the resolution, told the General Assembly that the resolution is a very simple, clear and explicit one, saying the killings need to stop. Resolutions by the General Assembly are not legally binding, but they do carry immense moral weight.
And representatives from 198 nations have agreed on a climate deal at the COP28 summit in Dubai. The text calls on all countries to transition away from the use of fossil fuels, but not to phase them out. And that's your week in review.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
That might be the weirdest one you've ever done, man.
I can't hit that low note. It's like Gregorian chant. And we're back.
Tuvian throat singing. I don't even know what a Tuvian is. What's a Tuvian?
I don't know.
Me neither.
It's like a basket hammock.
You guys ever see that movie, Chasing Amy? It's a Kevin Smith flick.
No.
It sounds familiar, but I can't remember what it's about.
There's this bit where, like, the dude's going off about his comic book with the main character is a black dude or whatever, right? And so he's going off about that, and he's like, "And my Nubian brothers," and the guy stands up, he's like, "Oh, what's a Nubian?" Like, just in the middle of his rant while he's trying to sell his comic book. The movie's hilarious. There's a bit in there too where, like, the dude is interested in the girl, and they go to see her perform because she sings in a band or something. But unbeknownst to the dude, she's into chicks, right? And he's like, I'm going to go let her know how I feel. They're like, wait, there's something you should know. What? Does she have a boyfriend? No. Then what's to know? And he turns around and keeps walking.
Oops.
Worse.
It is Free Talk Live. What do we do here, Steve?
It's a nationally syndicated call-in radio show where you can control the topics. So call in.
Nikki, what's the phone number?
603-283-6160.
Who's that guy?
That's Steve.
Who are you?
I'm Nikki.
Who am I?
You're the captain.
Very good. You've passed.
You've
Here's
passed
a
the
cookie.
test.
Thank you.
Here's a cookie. I don't have a cookie to give you.
Oh, we've got cookies.
Yeah, sorry. I already gave you your holiday gift, so be happy with that.
I love that.
52 card pickup.
Oh, yeah.
We've been talking about this story. I guess we're done with this story now, but some dudes in Denver were convicted of stealing from Kohl's department store. The amount that they were convicted of stealing was $2,094.98. Anything over $2,000 in Colorado is a felony, apparently.
I wonder if they thought about, like, we're going to go in there, we're going to take 3 of those, what are the KitchenAid crew, what are they called?
The mixers or whatever? Yeah, the KitchenAid.
Do you think, like, if you're going to steal something,
crew.
do the math? And
maybe they did as they were, but like if there's 2 of them, right? They're doing loose math and they're doing it in their heads. They're not walking around trying to steal stuff with a calculator on their phone now, right? Like, no, we got to put this mixer back because we're above $2,000.
I've also heard of stores like collecting portfolios on people, like files on people, so they'll know who's stealing. And then they'll keep track of it, and they'll wait until they get to the felony amount where they can really get them.
There's actually laws that do that too. So like if you get busted for like X amount of DUIs or something like that, it goes from misdemeanor to felony and that kind of stuff. So not unheard of for sure.
But these guys are probably walking around with the calculator on their phone, going, "Well, it says it says $500. Like it's on sale, $399. Okay." Type in $3.99. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, somebody's probably just grabbed one item too many.
And then the other dude's like, I got a coupon. All right, well.
They probably didn't think about I'm assuming most people that are stealing aren't anticipating getting caught. They probably didn't think about it at all.
They're probably seeing the videos like people are just busting into Macy's and taking whatever they want.
They don't answer this in the article, but like they claim that they had coupons. Now, did they did they intend to buy this stuff and then they're just like, screw it, man, let's just push the cart out the door?
Right, they might have been waiting in line.
I'm assuming,
why would you even have the coupons or care about them?
Right, did they have them on them at the time the shoplifting occurred is what I'm asking, right?
That's why I think
or
they were
did
trying
they just have them.
I think that's why they were trying to do the math to come in under $2,000.
Yeah.
They probably tried to maximize the amount of stuff that they could steal.
Right.
With things that were on sale, coupons, Kohl's Cash. And it didn't work.
Like, dude, we totally got out under $2,000. I'm like, no, you didn't. Sorry.
Loss
Doesn't
prevention.
count.
Here it comes.
Yeah. All right. We do have a number 2 story, as we are wont to do here on the Sunday edition of Free Talk Live. And again, just before we go on to our number 2 story, don't steal. Government hates competition. So
sounds like a bumper sticker.
Also, jail sucks. I do know that from personal experience, actually. But that's a whole other story for another time. Moving right along, something less essy than jail is more depending on what jail you're in, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco.
Hellhole.
I'll just stop there. Is it more essy than jail? You had me at San Francisco.
Right. What's worse?
Meanwhile, back in San Francisco, the San Francisco poop map has been updated.
Oh, good.
And things are essier than ever. This from ZeroHedge.com by Tyler Durden. During Thursday night's debate... Wait, why are we... Yeah, okay. During Thursday night's debate between Gavin Newsom, D, and Ron DeSantis, R. Yeah, that's for dumbass and retardo. The Florida governor busted out the San Francisco poop map created by Open the Books. The map created in 2019 plotted nearly 120,000 cases of reports of human feces on the streets of San Francisco between 2011 in 2019 using the city's open records portal and 311 call information posted by city officials.
Officials?
What the heck's 311?
That's like 211, but
what's 211?
It's like kind of like 912. I don't know.
I know what 911 is, and I know that like some cities have implemented something, that's not quite 911, where they have a 3-digit dial for something. So I was just curious. Okay.
I think 511 is if you're calling before you're digging.
I can look it up. It's
I don't know. I'll ask the magic rectangle.
Consult the collective, will you? The problem is so bad, apparently, that San Francisco has been employing so-called poop patrollers.
Poop patrollers? What does that mean?
Well, I can tell you they make upwards of $185,000 per year.
Really?
To clean up the mess. They're basically, you know how people like walk dogs and have to pick up after them? Well,
yeah.
They're picking up after humans.
If they wanted to save money, they could have just hired a bunch of like orderlies from a nursing home, like CNAs.
No,
they do it for like $15 an hour.
I contend they actually just employ people who are already walking their dogs.
I consulted the magic rectangle.
What did the magic rectangle
Well,
tell you?
311 says it's a rock band.
That's 311. Visit.
Oh,
All right.
amber is the color.
I want to visit the world.
The number 3. So if you call 311, it says to provide general city information to citizens, local businesses, and visitors, as well as perform service request intake on behalf of city departments.
Wait, so
311, I have an emergency. There is poop on the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's probably that's
Can
probably.
you send the poop patrol?
Yeah.
They make how much?
Sir, do you have
Are
the
hiring?
app? Do you
Yeah,
have the
right.
app?
I'm kidding.
I have version 1. You need version 2.
Version 2. 2.2. Oh my gosh. We're getting carried away again, Steve.
Okay. The
Nikki,
captain continues.
Will you keep us in mind?
Yeah, try to reel it in.
Crack the whip a little bit,
It's hard when we the content that gets brought into this show. It's like
It's stellar, right?
How do you reel this in when we're like off the rails to begin with? You know what I mean?
It's Sunday.
like-
We're all it's
If only there were a way to sort of corral all of this and make sure that it is forced with like a liquid through some sort of a smaller tube down into a processing facility.
Oh gosh.
Describing a toilet into your...
Oh, okay, yeah.
I was going to say drinking your way out of it? No.
I mean, I'm not above that. Sometimes you have to drink your way out of a horrible situation. I'm just saying, it happens. I can't believe these bastards make $185,000 a year. These poop patrollers.
The 311 people?
The poop patrollers. Wow. San Francisco has been employing so-called poop patrollers making upwards of $185,000 per annum.
Well, they probably have a lot of overtime
to clean up the mess. And of course, the guy in charge of it was arrested on felony fraud charges and sentenced to 7 years in prison. Oh, surprise! Somebody who works and collects money from the government, which of course is stolen money.
Right.
Be involved in something
corrupt?
Nefarious?
Surprise, surprise.
Color me surprised. Was that that was a very bad Gomer Pyle impersonation if you were trying.
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. So.
There we go. Yeah. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Gomer Pyle.
So anyway, the map has been updated. According to Adam Andrzejewski of Open the Books, here it is in all its brown glory. Only now it's got an additional 125,506 cases in just 3 years. More than double the amount reported in the initial 8-year period. So they've been putting together this map. They've been tracking people doing their duty.
Doing their duty
in the
their
streets.
civic duty.
Definitely.
Definitely.
The duty to their city.
Defecately.
And it took them 8 years to report. What was the original number?
I thought it was 125.
It doesn't say, but it says now it's got an additional 125,506 cases in just 3 years, which is more than double the amount reported in the initial 8-year period. So 50, 60, 70,000 apparently in the first 8 years. You can even interact with the map, and I'm not going to do that.
Interact with? Oh, jeez.
You can use the plus and minus signs at the top left corner of the map. You can switch between map and satellite views.
Oh my gosh.
As well as pins and heat.
Like someone made this app.
Steamy?
Like steaming
right.
loaf. Like,
Fresh one.
Old versus new. I don't know. They're like, here's the heat map. Okay.
I guess it must be like Waze, like where you're walking by, you just
Yeah, I think it is.
report a steamy one.
Steamy.
Send the poop crew out.
Oh man.
We're off the rails.
So that's it. That's our number 2 story, apparently.
Maybe next week we shouldn't have a number 2 story.
Maybe we'll have a number 3 story next week.
We can take a week off, huh? It's Christmas.
It's Christmas.
Don't do a number 2 story. Let's do a number 1 story next week.
I wonder if...
Let's do something nice.
I wonder if... So Christmas is on a weekend, right?
And so Monday. New Year's... Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
And New Year's Eve are on a Friday. So
no, it's on Sunday.
I'm sorry, you're right. It is Sunday. So
right.
the day
we'll
would
be
on
here
Monday. Okay. At any rate, I'm curious because we did a story around Thanksgiving about Brown Friday.
Right.
That was our number 2 story.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if there's also a similar uptick in calls to plumbers and that kind of, like after Christmas and after New Year's.
Oh, after New Year's. I mean,
those cookies, the Chinese food. Oh my! You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, New Year's Day. I'm sure it would just be like clean up the bathroom.
Why Chinese? Just because it makes everybody hungry a half hour later?
I just don't think that like you know,
that goes right through you.
Yeah.
Update the poop map right in your own house.
MSG, man, it just goes right through you.
What about Mexican food?
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
Beans and everything.
I mean, is it authentic or is it Taco Bell? You know,
Either way.
we did the Taco Bell a few weeks ago.
Either way, and
the Taco Bell orgy story, that was a good one.
Just as a public service reminder, if you're on the road and you do need to do your duty, DOOTY, stop at a Taco Bell because they owe you one.
Yeah,
that's right. Not in a Pringles can. Don't do that.
That's the on the go method.
That is the new Molotov cocktail, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pour a bunch of booze in it, right? So you, and then you'll put a wick in there and then light it and chuck it, right? Yeah. We should probably go to some calls.
Yes, please change the subject.
Let's go to Tim in Florida. Tim, you're on Free Talk Live.
I can't handle the pressure.
Prairie dogging it?
Reel us in, please.
Don't hold it in. Go.
Well, I've got some notes here.
Oh, gosh.
Change the subject because I know you're talking about poo again.
Yeah, please change.
Well, so let's see. I've got a note here. I think I was watching Last American Vagabond I'm catching up with everything by November 15th. So I'm about a month behind on everything. But
is that the podcast, Last American Vagabond?
Yeah, he does. He actually does a video.
Oh, okay.
The LastAmericanVagabond.com, and he has people. They write articles on there. He's not the only dude, but he's based out of Tennessee, somewhere in Tennessee.
What about it?
Anyway, so he turned me on to this article video about the Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who said, "What we are doing in Gaza, we can do in Beirut." And my best friend in high school, American Lebanese, and his grandmother, I don't even know if she's still around, but she lives in Beirut, and it's so there comes a point because the world is so small that things begin to get a little personal, and then I've got another note here. This is even crazier. The next day, Armenian Apostolic Church in Jerusalem, Israeli settlers with help of armed police are seizing property of the Armenian church as part of the continuing campaign of dispossession and Judaization. I don't know how to pronounce that.
That's right.
So they're just taking money from the Armenian churches, or just stealing artifacts from their churches?
Yeah, I think real property. I think they're actually seizing everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, leave it to government to interfere with, everything. I can't name a thing in my life that government doesn't have their hands in some way, shape, or form. I can only assume that it is the same everywhere else.
Right. They're stealing it. They're not stealing it covertly. They're overtly stealing.
Right.
So they're still stealing.
I got to get one more thing that's related to this off of my chest, because you got the issue of dual citizenship, and you have Israeli Americans who have United States citizenship, and they're in interlocking directorships and in the government, and various positions of power, and it could just as easily happen here. Don't think it can't. And at this point, I'm calling for a tax revolt. I'm like, there's got to be a way. There's got to be enough people that support a tax revolt at some point.
Well, half the country doesn't pay taxes. So even if we had half the people to revolt, that would be all the people.
Well, and I think a lot of like the left-leaning people, like typically they're more in favor of taxes because they're like, no, like the public service and all that. But a lot of them are really, there was some sort of strike. It was like a social media thing that people were doing for a ceasefire, and so I'm sure there is a way to get a lot of people on board with a tax strike.
But Tim, I'm with you on the interlocking directorates. That is super evil. That is a way of corporations almost, it's almost like World Economic Forum stuff. But the interlocking directorates, basically like someone on the board of Pfizer is from NBC, and then someone on their board is from, big agriculture or whatever. They're all in it together.
Yeah. Well, what's his name? Nothing Yehu, Benjamin Nothing Yehu.
That's good.
He really likes the Bible, but I got something from the New Testament. From 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 20. For I fear, lest when I come, I shall not find ye, or you, such as I would, and that I shall be found unto you, such as ye would not, lest there be debates, envyings, wraths, strifes, backbitings, whisperings, swellings, tumults, and lest when I come again, my God will humble me among you, and that I shall bewail many which have sinned already, and have not repented of the uncleanness and fornication and lasciviousness.
We got coming there twice, and then we got fornication. So sounds like a porno to me. Tim, thanks for the call.
Well, I mean, was the New Testament cooked up by the Roman Empire to kind of quell people? It's like the original fluoride. I don't know. You know what we should do? We should make the New Testament. The even newer Testament. No, we're just gonna box set.
Like we don't like the Bible the way it is. We're gonna rewrite it, and we're gonna add it to the existing Bible. It's just gonna be called the New Testament.
New and improved,
but not like the band.
No, we'd have to name that like Testament Plus or something.
New Testament 2.0. Make it hip.
Or maybe we could clone everybody in the band Testament. And then we could call them Testament Squared.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking. That's right. That's it. That's my genius idea for the year.
All right, everybody, let's go.
All right, he's thinking.
For the year.
Right.
I won't have another one until next year. It's just
2
how
weeks.
I roll.
It's about 2 weeks. He'll have something brilliant in 2 weeks.
It's a testament to my creativity. Oh, did you see that?
Oh, wow. That was good.
Yes.
Can't wait till January 1st.
Biblical jokes here on Free Talk Live. I follow this person called Voluntarist. I believe they're at Onomy Alex. Mr. Voluntarist says, I asked Mixtral, which is one of these AI.
Is that like Siri?
I looked
Mixtral?
it up too, and I forget what exactly it was because I wanted to be prepared for tonight's show.
Heard of it. I haven't heard of a lot of AI stuff. They just the only thing I see AI is what would Michael Jackson look like now, or Elvis? What would he look like? AI makes this picture.
It's sort of like a Chat GPT, except different brand, different maker, whatever. He asked it to summarize Lysander Spooner's book, The Constitution of No Authority. Now, this is a very popular book amongst anarchists, libertarians, and the like. And it goes on to say, the document, No Treason, The Constitution of No Authority by Lysander Spooner, is a political treatise arguing that the U.S. Constitution is not a valid contract and has no authority over individuals. Fact.
Yep.
I mean, like Lysander
So
Spooner
far,
is,
yeah.
like fact, right?
Yeah.
Like, he just points out a fact. Took a whole book to do it, but that's how it goes. So, in summary, Spooner argues the following, and this is the summary now from
the Chat GPT thing,
whatever it is, the
AI
mixed troll. Number one, the Constitution is not a contract between the living, but rather an agreement made by a small portion of the population who were alive at the time of its creation.
Well, that's true.
I agree that it's not a contract between, anyone, really.
It's more of a document.
I don't know if it's an agreement made by us. Like, I'm sure the people who put it together were like, yes, we agree on these things. And they had other things on there like, no, we don't agree. Okay, let's throw those out, right? And they ended up with...
But it never went for a vote, did it? Of the people?
Not to my knowledge.
It's just written.
Made by a small portion of the population, meaning a handful of men who were alive at the time of its creation. So far, so good. Number two, no pun intended. It does not bind, again, no pun intended. It does not bind future generations as it was not agreed to by them, and they have no obligation to follow it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but we like that Second Amendment. And that First Amendment.
It does not bind future generations. So the people who put it together might think it's a good idea, and they're welcome to follow it. But it certainly has no binding effect on their children, on anybody else, any other generations of people.
Yeah. I mean, to me, my rights aren't granted by a piece of paper or something that someone did like 200 years ago. Just seems a bit ridiculous. Like, my rights are granted to me by God.
So it again, it says it does not bind future generations because it was not agreed to by them. True. And thus they have no obligation to follow it. Agreed. Number three, the Constitution has never been signed or agreed to by the majority of the population, making it an invalid contract. Right, so a contract, by definition, is an agreement between two people, and then you sign it. So that,
Well, I mean, how many people agree to the 55 mile an hour speed limit but drive fast and get a ticket? I didn't agree to that.
Well, right. I mean, to me, the speed limit is just a suggestion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Daytime speed limit suggested.
We suggest. I have a little bit more to say about this number 3 item here on this AI summary of Lysander Spooner's No Treason, the Constitution of No Authority. You can give us a call, 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up. It's the Sunday night edition.
Some of you have wanted to support Free Talk Live's mission on a monthly basis, but don't want to support Patreon. Now we have an alternative that also helps our premier streaming platform, Odyssey. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join at the top of the channel. You can subscribe for $5 per month, and unlike other subscription services, Odyssey adds their processing fee on top, so it'll cost a little over $5 per month, but Free Talk Live will receive the entire amount you pledged. Higher donation tiers are available if you're feeling so inspired. You'll get a special membership badge that's visible in the Odyssey chat room, and if we get enough supporters, we may enable members-only chat. This new subscription method is a great way to decentralize our direct listener support away from just Patreon and also support a libertarian-run business, Odyssey. Please visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join to subscribe to our Odyssey channel and help support spreading our message around the planet. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join today.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Benji Haya with a roundup of the biggest headlines from this past week, a week which ended with Hungary blocking a €55 billion or $55 billion aid package for Ukraine, just hours after an agreement was reached for Kiev to start accession talks with the bloc. Hungary maintains close relations with Russia. Pablo Gutierrez reports from Budapest.
Prime Minister Viktor Orban vowed to oppose Ukraine's EU membership in the future. Orban, during his weekly radio address, said Hungary faced economic difficulties in 2023, but dealt with them on its own. He also expressed his reasoning for his veto on the EU's plan to give €50 billion in aid to Ukraine, saying it could negatively affect Hungary.
EU leaders say Ukraine will not be left without support. The war-torn nation's critically dependent on European and American backing as it continues to fight occupying Russian forces. US President Joe Biden insists failing to provide additional aid to Ukraine would be the greatest Christmas gift to Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin. In a meeting on Tuesday at the White House with his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky, Mr. Biden urged lawmakers to pass the supplementary funding. But with a 3-week recess looming, the hopes of Congress reaching a deal by the end of the year remain in the balance. Also on Capitol Hill, the House of Representatives has voted to formally open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden, accusing him and his family of corruption. Ira Spitzer has the details.
On this vote, the yeas are 221 and the nays are 212. The resolution is adopted.
All 221 House Republicans voted to move forward with the impeachment inquiry, while all 212 Democrats were in opposition. The inquiry against President Biden will give them more power to gather evidence ahead of a possible impeachment attempt early next year. Republicans have long alleged corruption in the Biden administration, much of it centered around the president's son Hunter Biden's business dealings, although they have yet to present any conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. In a statement, Biden said Republicans were wasting time on what he called a baseless political stunt.
As Israel continues with its bombardment of Gaza, there are growing rifts between the government there and the administration stateside, with Joe Biden criticizing Israel for what he calls its indiscriminate bombing, which he fears is losing the country international support. US intelligence suggests nearly half of the Israeli munitions dropped on Gaza are what's known as dumb bombs, in other words, unguided and therefore potentially imprecise. Mr. Biden hit out at what he labels the most conservative government in Israel's history, condemning it for seemingly not wanting a two-state solution. This whilst the United Nations General Assembly voted in favour of a draft resolution urging an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. More than 3/4 of the 193-member General Assembly backed the move, which was vetoed by the United States in the Security Council. Here's Jody Jacobs from the UN headquarters in New York.
153 member states have voted in favor of the resolution, calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, demanding that all parties comply with their obligations under international law and the unconditional release of all hostages. But before the vote, both the United States and Austria tried to push for amendments to the text, which it says did not condemn Hamas, but this failed. Egypt, who tabled the resolution, told the General Assembly that the resolution is a very simple, clear and explicit one and is long overdue, saying the killings need to stop. Resolutions by the General Assembly are not legally binding, but they do carry immense moral weight. The world has spoken, says one diplomat here in New York, but we'll have to wait and see whether either side in this Middle East conflict adheres to this resolution.
The UK government has won a crucial vote on a controversial plan to send some asylum seekers to Rwanda to have their claims processed there. The new legislation is designed to address concerns raised by the country's Supreme Court in a ruling last month, which declared the plan unlawful. Ollie Barrett's been following from London.
If Prime Minister Rishi Sunak had lost this vote in the UK's Parliament, it would have led to questions about the future of his leadership of the Conservative Party. But this victory is not the end of the story in a party which is divided on the issue. Some Conservative lawmakers hope to toughen the legislation as it makes its way through Parliament in the coming months. Others say if the plan is toughened any further, it could breach international law and they would withdraw their support. The bill, voted on by lawmakers, seeks to declare Rwanda a safe country to send asylum seekers to and to reduce the likelihood of legal challenges. The opposition Labour Party says the plan is a gimmick and it would scrap it if it wins the next election.
And representatives from 198 nations have agreed on a climate deal at the COP28 summit in Dubai. The text calls on all countries to transition away from the use of fossil fuels, but not to phase them out. And that's your week in review.
The Subway restaurant chain has reacted with shock this week after executives discovered that many customers are apparently purchasing footlong sandwiches and eating the entire 12 inches by themselves. A spokesperson for the company addressed reporters this morning.
This is not how our products are intended to be consumed. Our footlong subs have always been meant to be shared among 2 or more friends. Eating an entire foot of food shouldn't be possible for most people, but they've been doing it somehow, and it needs to stop.
To encourage healthier eating habits, Subway is clarifying its marketing, adjusting language on menus and in television commercials like this one. $5 footlongs? Wow, that's $2.50 per person. Subway's corporate leadership says they were horrified to learn of the misunderstanding.
It's frightening. I mean, you don't see people eating entire pizzas by themselves. We even cut the footlongs in half into 2 regular-sized sandwiches before handing them to you. But I guess that wasn't clear enough.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
That's right, we're back. It's Free Talk Live. I don't know why I'm talking like this. It's something that they used to do in radio all the time, and I don't really like it, so I'm going to stop now.
I think that's a really good way to do it.
Yes, thank you, Steve. I think so. I agree with you. Nikki, do you agree?
Let's go Radio Voice. Radio Voice is only tonight here on Free Talk Live.
All right, let's stop that.
Anyway.
We could try that.
But that's where we got that from, right?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, it was a Saturday Night Live bit.
Yeah, I love Saturday Night. Well, I used to love Saturday Night Live. It got a little stale.
It comes and goes. It's done more going.
Yeah, it's in
the
my going
opinion,
part.
It's busy going. Before we go on, though, this hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. In addition to being one of the world's first cryptocurrencies, Dash was the first crypto project to have a decentralized autonomous organization that to this day continues to improve and promote Dash. Every month, 10% of the mining rewards go into a treasury. Anyone with one Dash to spend can put forward a proposal to the Dash master nodes. The master nodes vet the proposals and decide which ones move forward and are funded by the treasury. Nowadays, DAOs are plentiful, but Dash paved the way by doing it first nearly a decade ago. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get, easy to use Dash. Start by learning more at Dash.org. And thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit Dash.org to learn about Dash. That's Dash.org. I was thinking about this the other day, the way that Dash is organized, and that they have a 10% that goes into this treasury, and then people can
right into the pool
put forward a proposal on what to do with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine if our tax dollars worked.
This is the difference between government and governance.
Yes.
Right. So governance can be achieved voluntarily, as is evidenced by this 10% sort of a thing here. And I was thinking to myself, this could be a way to fund charities. Right. This could be a way to fund, I don't know, roads, right?
Yeah.
All the things,
Wow.
all the things. the non-statists or the statists, use against the non-statists. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if there was a checklist on your tax form. Like, all right, here are
what do you want to
100
contribute
things.
to?
Yeah, what a percentage like?
Well, and that's the thing. And then you think, because some people might argue, oh, well, then what if no one wants to support this thing? Well, then maybe we shouldn't be funding it.
Right.
If no one wants to support the Ukraine war or whatever, then
0%.
maybe
And
the money shouldn't go towards that.
At that point, it would no longer be a tax form. It would just be a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's do that.
So then we can get rid of the government altogether.
Great. I'm glad we could clear this up.
Yeah. I like how everything just, boom.
Right.
Yeah.
Roads? Yeah, I like the roads. I'll give you a little bit of money for the roads.
I think roads could be easily provided privately, and you would end up doing something like subscribing to a road service provider, much like you subscribe to an internet service provider, or your cell phone plan, right?
Right. Roads as a utility.
Yeah. Like, you get your bill every month. Oh, yep, got to pay for my roads, right?
I mean,
that amount that you pay would be so minuscule compared to what you pay in taxes for roads.
Right. And
Well,
they
that's the
would
thing,
be
too.
built and maintained a lot cheaper too.
And better.
And better.
Because if you do a
innovation
crap
from time to
job,
time?
then looks like you're fired when we're hiring this other guy next time. But we don't have that option now.
There'd be innovation from time to time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
competition. Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
Wouldn't that be nice?
if you're paving the road, as part of your contract, you could say, I'm going to put up my own signs for my paving company. This road paved by Steve Classic Paving Company.
Yeah,
and people are like, wow, that road is awesome.
I was reading about things where, like, apparently this happens in other places in the world currently. Private roads are built, and then they just charge for advertising on billboards along the road.
That's perfect.
Like, okay, there you go. Boom.
I mean, there are so many better ways that we can answer all of these questions.
Right.
Roads, libraries, hospitals.
None of which involve
schools.
violence
Yeah.
and armed conflict with men with badges who think they have extra rights. Let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. We've got, I believe this is Joe calling from Maryland. You're on Free Talk
Yes.
Live. Hey, Joe.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to everyone. If I don't get a chance to call in and say Merry Christmas.
Right back at you.
Okay. You're talking about the Ukraine war and what's going on with Gaza and stuff. We're destroying those two countries. We're killing innocent people, all in the name of congressmen and senators getting money from the companies they invest in. We should stop killing people, and we should stop destroying their countries.
Well, we're not killing anybody.
I know. I'm talking about the people.
Collectively.
Yeah, you're talking about the United States of America.
Incorporated.
Right. Yeah. And I agree. Yes, absolutely. The United States of America should stop bombing other countries, period. They should stop funding other countries' militaries, period. They should immediately dismantle the current military. Replace it with what? We got to have some different. Like, I don't care, because the United States of America spends an astronomical amount of money on military, something like 100 times more than the next country, right? Like, the amount of money the United States spends on military is orders of magnitude more than the next highest spending country on military.
Yeah, that can't be necessary.
So, I mean, if you need to look for what an empire is military domination of a certain geographical area. The United States of America is currently the largest empire planet Earth has ever seen.
Yeah, also, we're in these different countries, and they don't want us there.
Right?
Only the people who are making the money, like Zelensky, right?
Yeah.
He's got over $11 billion now in his own pockets. Where did that money come from?
From
It
our
came
pockets.
From the money that the U.S. gave to him, but he's keeping that $11 billion from the people who are hungry. That $11 billion could buy food. That $11 billion could buy medicine. That $11 billion could buy, temporary setups where they're not freezing their rear ends off and dying of pneumonia.
Yep. But the politicians don't care. Like, this is like, I agree with you, and people should be far more upset. You should be upset. I agree with you, but like, it just illustrates that the politicians don't effing care. They don't care. They only care about themselves, more for them, less for you, more for their buddies. In the words of George Carlin, it's a big club and you ain't in it.
And I feel like a lot of the like the patriot American types that are like really into the military, and they're like, yeah, like they have this illusion
America
that that like they're helping, right? They're like, yeah, the U.S. military is helping. They think it's like World War II, right? Where like the U.S. troops came in and like, you know, the Holocaust people were, like people that were in prisons, they saw the U.S. military and they were like, oh my gosh, they're here to save us. Like, I think that was the last time that someone was excited to see the U.S. military and they were like, oh, they're going to save us. Like, exciting. I don't think since World War II, like the U.S. military has really done anything to like substantially to help people. I think it's just been more, just, I don't know, just more crap.
Yeah. I mean, so I obviously am not old enough to have experienced World War II. One of my grandfathers was in that war. And he rarely, if ever, talked about it. I can't remember a time he talked about it. There was one time he mentioned it, and it was a very short sentence, and that was it. But I can't claim to know how people felt in World War II, because for all we know, that was all propaganda. That was all just the U.S. feeding stories to the media going, yeah, they want us there. They're excited to have us there, even if they weren't.
I guess my perception of that just goes based off of like memoirs of people in Poland and in Germany that I've read.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I wasn't there. Yeah. I don't know how they felt. I don't know how the majority felt. I've read like, a handful of memoirs, and that's how those people might have felt. Yeah. But who knows if that's, the real narrative.
We keep learning things about the United States military and the politicians who, the president being the, administrator of, right, the chief, right?
Commander-in-chief
of the military. Gulf of Tonkin, right? Getting us into Vietnam, right? Weapons of mass destruction, getting us into the Gulf War, right?
Pearl Harbor.
And all of these things were orchestrated by them. Mm-hmm. We were like lied to the people to get us into war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the 60s, right? I heard the stories from my uncles and my Jaji and Bobsy and stuff.
Yeah.
How our family were lined up and shot down by both Germans and Russians, and how their food was, taken from them and starved to, and my family starved to death and things like that. And it all goes to money in a politician's pocket.
Yep.
And my family died. So
that sucks, dude.
It's horrible. Another thing. Remember when they had the $750 billion stimulus package for President Bush and for President Obama? What things were done with that money? Nobody knows where that money went. And the roads are horrible. Our electric supply area is falling apart. It's ancient.
Yep.
And it's these people are getting rich.
Mm-hmm.
And we people are getting poor.
Yep.
They want to see crickets. In China, right?
It's worse than that, though. They want you to eat the crickets and be happy about it.
Right, and own nothing.
Right. Yeah. In China, they stopped. Like in Russia, they were giving porridge to the criminals. In China, they said, well, that's too expensive. And they're making their prisoners eat grass.
Whoa.
For real.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's the officials getting the money, and we poor suckers, are just lower and lower and lower and lower.
Yep.
And can't the people see that? Vote these son of a guns out. They're evil.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and thank you for the call tonight, Joe. We appreciate you. It is the politicians who have gotten us into this position. It's voting. It's participating in this system that's gotten us, the government of the United States, into this position. It's their claim of doing it for you. We're doing it in your name. We represent
All
you.
lies.
You don't represent me. When did you ever ask if I needed or wanted to be represented by you? You never did, right? And the fact is, I'm perfectly capable of representing myself in all of my matters. I am the most qualified person to make all decisions for me and how I live my life and how I go about my days and all of that. I am the most qualified. Government has the hierarchy upside down, and it should be abolished because they do not control me. I control me.
Yeah, well, who will pave the roads?
People.
Always goes back to that question.
Yeah.
Always goes back to the
People
roads.
will pave the roads, because if something is necessary, it will be done. Like this is
Exactly,
This is how
yes.
people have been forever. You can go to like a small cluster of islands where it's all like tribal people. I mean, they've got tack and all that kind of stuff. But if you ever want to see a road get rebuilt quickly, watch for like one of these bridges that gets taken out during like a typhoon or something like that. All the people get together. Their politics are set aside. Everybody pitches in, and the bridge between the two islands gets rebuilt in days. Right now, if that were government, God. You'd be like, it's going to take us
years.
First, we have to get some bids from, everybody. And then we're going to filter them out by the ones that we like best, or that we know because they're like our brothers, or, somehow related to us, or they gave to my campaign.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have to go out and get all the materials and hire the right people. And then they're going to finally start the work. And
Everything is just incredibly inefficient.
We need to have a 3-year environmental impact study.
Everything's got to be in triplicate, and forms have to be filled out and created. And
then it goes to the lowest bid. It's junk.
It's ridiculous.
I think the best. I've been dealing with a couple of Connecticut websites lately, just because I'm still trying to extricate myself from that hole. You go on, and I don't know about all states, but the Connecticut, it just seems like, who built this website? Was it some congressman's,
Yes.
8-year-old?
Literally an 8-year-old. This is like
links
every
don't
government
work.
website. Yeah.
It's like, God,
It's embarrassing.
It is the lowest bid.
Yeah, in New Hampshire is just as bad. I mean, I've had to try my best to navigate some of these websites.
Yeah.
I'm making an appointment for something, and the calendar doesn't work. It's like, oh my gosh, the startup company down the road who just built their website with, built it themselves.
You can order
it
everything
works,
online.
It's amazing.
It works so
right,
much better. You know what I mean? Like, I can build a better website than this. And let me tell you, not in web design. Like,
Right.
I'm using the most basic software, and I could build a better website.
Let's go to more of your calls and thoughts. I believe this is Gigi calling from South Carolina. Gigi, you're on Free Talk Live.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Gigi.
Well, I'm officially a year older. I can now call myself an old broad.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Gigi.
birthday.
It was yesterday.
Happy late birthday.
A dismal and dreary day down here in the Low Country, not to mention the horrible post-hurricane season tropical depression plaguing us. This came from out of nowhere.
Is it over your house
But-
right about now?
My husband and I just finished watching a superb political film based on a book written by a famous South African author, Alan Paton. The movie was called A Dry White Season, about exposing the evils of apartheid. And I looked at my husband and I said, I am so sick to death, pissed off, frustrated. I would love to be able to use flushing the toilet language, but I have to be appropriate.
Behave now,
and
Gigi.
still maintain my composure as a educated, respectable lady, you should pardon the expression. On both sides, just like Ian's letter said, that I relish loving reading over and over the monsters, and I'm quoting Mr. Freeman, on both sides, Hamas and the IDF. If I tell you after this movie, I looked at my husband and I said, I studied all this as an undergrad, then in grad school, through my PhD program, and we're still living with systems similar: oppression, occupation, segregation, economically, militarily, politically. I am so frustrated, and I'm speaking as a proud woman of a Middle Eastern Jewish heritage. I love my history, I love my culture, but I am so disgusted and utterly turned off by every opportunity on all three sides of the argument.
Oh, yeah.
Why can't the Israeli government and the Palestinian community get their act together and go forward in a progressive manner and interact with trade, with humanitarian attitudes, on cultural infrastructure development, international exchanges? If Northern Ireland and Great Britain can do it, if Israel and Germany can do it, of all countries, if the United States and Vietnam can do it, if Jordan and Egypt can do it with Israel, why don't we see it happening? I am fed up.
I can tell you why. I know it's a rhetorical question, but for our listeners that may not be familiar, the reason why this is all happening is because currently, at least in that situation, hate is stronger. Hate is winning.
I agree with you on that, Captain. 800% I agree. But it's wrong, and it's long overdue to get rid of it.
I agree. Hey, I was looking at this. You mentioned the movie Dry White Season.
I love that book and the movie and the author.
It's got a pretty star-studded cast. Donald Sutherland,
yes, sir.
Marlon Brando.
I'm telling you, Captain, Jeffrey and I
Susan
watched
Sarandon.
the whole movie.
Saran wrap?
The whole movie, and I said I read it when I was doing my master's, and it was a fabulous book. I had an awesome, unbelievably fabulous professor of South African political history, and all this stuff still goes on in the world today, in other countries.
Yeah.
When are we ever going to really utilize what the United Nations was established to accomplish? I don't see it happening, Captain.
Well, I mean, sadly, it's probably not going to work in that way, because when governments get together and do these things, they do what's called a good song and dance, right? They do a nice presentation, and they tell you
they can all make money on other people's misery.
Bingo.
Corruption. Ding, ding, ding.
Nail on the head.
Like during the war for 10 years between Iran and Iraq, everybody was making money.
Yep.
Yeah, except for the people that live there that were dying.
Yeah.
You got that right.
Yeah.
But so, I noticed something, and you're all going to laugh, hopefully with me. The older I get, the smarter my father, he should rest in peace, becomes. My father used to say, little girl, history never changes, only the actors.
Hey, Gigi, thank you so much for the call. We appreciate you. That reminds me of a quote that I was told, and I don't even remember. I think I read it, actually, in a newspaper, but it was...
newspaper?
What's that? I know, right? Ancient technology. It was, we learn from the past that people seldom learn from the past.
Yeah. You got that right.
Yeah.
My father always told me never join the military. That's one quote that's stuck in my head from him. I got to put the Dry White Season on my recommended watching list over the holiday season.
I have not seen this movie because it was made in 1989.
It's got Susan Saran wrap in it.
It does, actually. Marlon Brando, Donald Sutherland, Janet Suzman, a couple other people that I don't recognize. But in 1989, I was wandering the earth like Kane from Kung Fu, and I wasn't watching a lot of movies and television,
right?
Because I was very poor as well. Couldn't really afford.
Couldn't
much.
get the DVD back then.
I don't even know.
There were no DVDs.
I'm like, when did DVDs even come out? Was it VHS era?
Mid-90s, maybe DVDs.
Yeah. So
the Blockbuster had it.
Oh yeah.
Please be kind. Rewind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on.
Man, I miss that place.
Me too. That was like solid childhood memories for me.
Well, I'm going to add that to my recommended watch list. Dry White Season.
603-283-6160 is the number if you would like to join us tonight. We'll finish talking about this AI summary of Lysander Spooner's Constitution of No Authority. Plus, there's plenty more on the way. It's Free Talk Live.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Rising fees have made Bitcoin useless for purchases, but Dash continues to have fees less than 1 cent per transaction, and its features ensure Dash is undefeated as the most useful cryptocurrency in the marketplace. From a technical standpoint, Dash transactions are irreversible, and its network is protected from 51% attacks by their Chainlocks technology. There's no need to wait for a confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Big thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Aid trucks have been permitted to pass into Gaza through Israel's Karim Shalom crossing for the first time. This is expected to deliver twice as much support to Gaza along with existing aid that's passing through Egypt's Rafah crossing. Trent Murray reports from Tel Aviv.
Now, this 200 trucks a day was part of the original negotiation done by the Israeli government and Hamas during that ceasefire we saw last month. The Israelis said as part of the agreement they would allow 200 trucks a day in, but because of bottlenecks at Rafah, they were only able to manage around 100. So it's expected that this new one should, as you say, double it, which will hopefully come as quite welcome news to civilians on the ground, but also aid agencies who are saying food, water and medicine is in very short supply within the besieged strip.
Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is heading to Tel Aviv as part of a multi-day tour of the Middle East. While in Israel, he is expected to call for a narrower military operation in Gaza in order to avoid triggering regional tensions. According to a senior Pentagon official, Lloyd Austin will, quote, underscore the unwavering U.S. commitment to Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international humanitarian law, and he'll discuss the steps Israel is taking to, quote, mitigate civilian harm. He's also expected to discuss with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and its Defense Minister Yoav Gallant the next stages of the conflict, notably how Israel plans to transition from its ground campaign and airstrikes in Gaza to a more focused operation against Hamas. These talks are set to the backdrop of climbing civilian casualties in Gaza. More than 18,000 people have been killed in the conflict, according to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. And US markets have been on a tear, posting gains for 7 straight weeks. President Joe Biden is using the rally to try and boost voter confidence in the economy, heading into a pivotal election year. Ira Spitzer reports.
Investors aren't the only ones happy about the rally on Wall Street, which saw the Dow reach multiple record highs last week. A new Biden campaign video opens by mocking Donald Trump's prediction that a Biden victory in 2020 would lead to a stock market collapse.
You're going to have a stock market collapse, the likes of which you've never had.
Another record day on Wall Street.
It's one of the first times in this election cycle that Biden has taken direct aim at the former president and Republican frontrunner. It's also an attempt to address one of Biden's weaknesses among voters concerned about the cost of living. A recent New York Times poll found that voters in swing states said they trusted Trump over Biden by a wide margin on the economy.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Very well said. Yes, we are back. It is Free Talk Live. You can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. The telephone number 603-283-6160. If you want to staple that to your forehead or whatever you have to do to remember it.
Backwards, so when you look in the mirror, you have the right number. Don't call the wrong number.
Don't want to make that mistake again.
Don't call 0616.
061-638-2306. Don't call that number. Instead, call 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
We have been talking about, we were previously talking about this person on the Twitter who asked Mixtral, this is one of these AI chatbot kind of things, to summarize The Constitution of No Authority, which is a book by Lysander Spooner.
So is this like an AI book report?
Basically.
Into
It's like Cliff Notes.
Yeah, like real. I mean, Cliff Notes. Jeez, it's like a paragraph.
Yeah.
Bullet points.
So we covered one, Constitution is not a contract between the living, but rather an agreement made by a small portion of the population who were alive at the time. Number two, it does not bind future generations, as it was not agreed to by them, and they have no obligation to follow it. Number three, the Constitution has never been signed or agreed to by the majority of the population, making it an invalid contract. Now, somebody pointed out to me, I believe the guy who posted this, pointed out that the only problem with this here is that it sort of insinuates that if a majority did agree to it, it would make it a valid contract. That's not how contracts work. Contracts are not usually between the majority of people forcing themselves upon the majority. That's not how contracts work. Contracts are willing parties on both sides agreeing to something. Anybody who didn't agree or isn't on one of the sides and didn't agree is not subject to any of it. That's how a contract works. So, number four, even if it were a valid contract, it would only be binding those who explicitly agreed to it, not on any descendants or subsequent generations.
Yeah.
Like
just because if my dad has a contract with somebody,
right,
then why do I also have a contract with that person?
If I contract somebody to, this is not a euphemism, plow my driveway in the winter.
Or plow your bean field.
If I contract somebody to provide snow removal services,
that's a better way of putting it.
In the wintertime here in New Hampshire, and I pay them to do so, my children are certainly not obliged to continue to pay this entity if and when I die.
Yeah.
Right. Or if you sell the house, your contract, you don't have to pay for the other person who bought your house their snow.
Right. That's not how contracts work. No. So, number five, the idea that the Constitution is a social contract that binds all citizens is a myth perpetuated by those in power to justify their rule.
But doesn't the Constitution limit the government's power, not give it power to rule?
The Constitution, as I understand it, is supposed to be guidelines for human beings to control their government so it doesn't get out of control, which obviously didn't work.
Didn't work.
So
we need 2.0.
The whole concept of social contract, that's not how contracts work, right? You don't
But it's also not a law.
Right. But people can't be subjugated to a contract they never agreed to. Well, they can.
I mean, we are.
We are. But it's done by force. It's done under duress.
Right. But I mean, are we employees of the corporation called the United States of America within Washington, D.C.? So we have to follow those,
Yeah. The other thing
policies.
The other thing about contracts is, there's usually a way to get out of them. If you look at contracts for, all sorts of things.
I think the only way to get out of this contract is to literally die or move somewhere else and terminate citizenship or something. I mean,
as much as you can, you should, live your life as free as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, if something gets in your way, well, you'll have to deal with that at that time.
Yeah.
And if everybody just sort of started doing that, why, we wouldn't be in this mess. So my advice to everybody is, do you. Right?
Live your life.
You do you. Live your life. Be in charge of your life. Be the captain of yourself.
Right. But most people are voting for money. And if they vote for money, then it's like
I don't know, man.
A worm on a hook.
I've had people I'll be standing in the living room at a holiday party during election season or something, and some girl will be like, "Oh, I'm going to vote for him because he just has better looking eyes."
Oh my God.
You know, or a dude will be like, "Oh, I'm not going to vote for her. No broad's going to be in charge of my country." Blah blah. That kind of a thing.
Yeah, they don't
Right?
have real reasons.
It's like that's not. You don't understand voting at all, and if you did, you probably wouldn't do it.
Right, but people, even let's say on a local level or a state level, this candidate is going to provide more benefits for me. People think that they're getting something, so they'll vote for that tyranny. Where other people say like that's tyranny. They look at it as, where's my free stuff? I'm going to vote for that.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, particularly when it comes to like voting or contracts, for that matter. Let's say a group of 10,000 people got together, and amongst themselves, they agreed that they were going to hold a vote for who was going to lead this group of 10,000 people, right? And so they vote, and some guy wins, right?
Probably his name is Captain,
right?
He'd be the captain,
whatever it is. Hopefully, his name's not Captain.
Who's going to lead the ship?
Probably have to change my name if that happens.
Oh, geez.
So somebody wins. We'll call him Bob. Bob wins, right? Now, the rest of humanity is not subject to this vote.
Just the 10,000 people.
Only if they agreed, right? And the ones who lost also have the ability to opt out, right? Like, the guy didn't want, so I'm going to get out of this organization. You can go join another.
Right. Well, you could quit the organization. Can you quit the United States? Can you become a,
No, there is no way to opt out of government as an institution. You just can't do it. It's not possible. And you can renounce your citizenship.
I think it's possible,
and
but
all
it's
that
like,
kind of a thing. But like,
it's impossible.
But like you,
like I said, you literally have to die basically.
You're gonna end up. Like if you leave the geographic area of whatever government you're under, in our case, the United States, if you leave,
you're going to be under
another government. So
and even where was that place?
Which slave plantation has the greener grass?
Well, right. So they had that place. Oh, I wish I remembered what it was called, but it was like a tiny little spot where there was like no man's land sort of thing. Liberland. So even them, so they're like, oh, we're in this, there's no government here. Governments from other places came and attacked them and then was like, this is our land now, we're killing you and destroying your mud huts.
Well, Liberland is still there, but they have been co-opted by organizations known as governments. Yeah.
Even in that case, it's like you literally don't really have an option, and that's why I kind of like Captain's, philosophy of, be free, do your thing, and if you run into issues, address them then.
That's the only way to do it.
And that's kind of like what I try to do. I'm like not going to be stupid. There are certain things that I do that I don't love just to not go to prison.
Yep.
But that's kind of the best we can do, and it's kind of disheartening sometimes. But we can spread the word of freedom.
Yes.
We can inspire other people. We can live our lives as most authentically as we can.
Yep.
But you can't let it get you down too much. Like you still have to live your life as best as you can and try to be as happy as you can, because I do see like some like libertarian anarchist types who get real doom and gloom. I just see them on Facebook all day, like, the government, the HEF, like they're ruining my life. And it's like, no, at this point, like you're ruining your own life by being so fixated on it. And it's like, fixated on things that you can't change. If you can change it and if you can make steps to change it, do it. But there's no point in like crying about it all day if there's nothing you can do about it imminently.
Try not to participate in as many things that.
Yeah, that's the best you can do, right?
Right.
Let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. I think this is Jet calling. Jet, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I heard you talking about the Constitution. I wanted to. Well, first of all, since you mentioned governments, there is no such thing as a government. They're only violent, evil people wanting to control you. Okay, back to the Constitution.
Thank you, Jet.
As you might recall, I've been in the military twice. And,
I'm sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what's kind of fun about that. Each time they gather you into this room and tell you to raise your hand and swear to the Constitution and stuff like that, right?
Right.
Well, I didn't do it. I was in the crowd. I just kind of stood there. Anyway, but what I discovered later on was the Constitution is not what you think it is. The Constitution, and people who swear to it, the Constitution is just 4 pieces of paper. And so it's not the content of the Constitution that you swear to. It's to the 4 pieces of paper to protect and defend.
Right.
Now, I mean, it's when you think about it, I mean, as you said before, it doesn't apply. I mean, if your great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather's rules don't apply to you, then somebody else's great-great-great-grandfather's rules don't apply to you either.
Right.
You know, it's pretty simple stuff logically. I just don't know why more people don't grasp it.
Well, it's because people are not logical as their first sort of act, right? People, generally speaking, act from emotion and not from logic or reason. So, are you on a speakerphone there, Jet? Because it sounds
driving
like
with the window open.
Yeah, it sounds like you're I don't know, at a printing press or something. There's a lot of noise going on in the background there.
Oh, sorry, had the engine running in the car.
You better go catch it. Oh, just kidding.
Did that help?
Oh, that's way better. Thank you. All right, go ahead with your next thought.
Yeah, well, the only other thought I ever have is that people need to understand that these groups, these violent, evil groups who call themselves government, really are just other people. Just because they have a title and they go into some fancy office does not give them any greater privilege or right than anyone else. And that's the message that I just keep pounding over and over to everybody I meet. If they're just other people, why do you even pay attention to them?
It's a good point, Jen. And I like people go into it for power, or at least the illusion of power, that they have power over others. And this can be tested easily just by, sort of, questioning the validity of any bureaucrat, right? Like, what do you do? Yeah. What are you for, right? Like, if you start questioning, they'll get all defensive. Like, I have power. I will see to it that you X, Y, or Z, right? They want to force you to their will.
As another little note, I thought of as you were talking about that, I've been put in jail like 5 times, on bogus charges. Everything was dropped. But the reason I think that I went to jail was when in talking to this person with the costume on, I just talked to them as a normal person. I don't bow down to them. I don't give them any deference as far as yes, sir, no, sir, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I even ask them, what's your first name? And if they're willing, I call them by that.
Right.
So they don't appreciate it when, especially the younger cops, when you don't bow down and obey them, do what they say, and when they give you a command and you say no thanks.
Yeah. Is that a lawful order?
No thanks.
Yeah. I don't answer questions.
Yeah, I actually apologize to them, right? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, officer, I don't answer questions.
Well, I would never use that phrase. I might say something like, well, that seems irrelevant. Or the better thing is always to turn a question around. They ask you, so where are you coming from, where you're going?
Where are you coming from?
Coming from? What are you talking about?
Do you know how fast you were going? Do you know how fast you were going?
Yeah, how fast did you have to go to catch me?
Yeah.
The worst thing. The other thing is you ask them a question like, I hear that a lot, but people ask you, where are you coming, where are you going? What is that all about? In other words, turn it around on them, make them think about all this stupid stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
I think it's best just to say I don't answer questions.
Yeah, but like I said, that's rather antagonistic, You can say
that's why I
things
apologize
like
first, right?
Apologize.
It softens it. I'm sorry, officer, I don't answer questions.
Well, you might as well say, I'm sorry, I'm not playing your stupid game. So
I mean, that seems antagonistic. Right?
I'm not part of your company.
I'm sorry, officer, I don't play your stupid games. Yeah. Like, that's gonna,
definitely escalate the
situation.
Well,
no, but it's kind of the same thing to their ears as I don't answer questions and done. Then they always ask, well, why not? And you say, well, that's a question. And I don't answer questions.
I don't answer questions.
Yeah, it's I always say things like that's irrelevant or that's not important or
Anything you can and say will be used against you. Right?
Yeah, you can always ask that too.
Yeah,
So
the only question that I would ask is, am I being detained or am I free
Right.
to go?
Yeah, that's always a good one.
Yeah,
Am I under arrest? Am I free to go?
Detained.
Yep.
Free to go.
Yep.
My son actually used that when he was 16 years old. I had no idea that he was paying attention to what I was telling him. But,
Smart kid.
But he left home in the middle of the night for whatever reason and went to a church parking lot. And he was just kind of sitting there, finally fell asleep. He woke up at like 6:30 in the morning with people pounding on his window and a shotgun pointed at him from one side and an AR-15 from the other side. And it was a little shocking initially, but then when they started talking to him, he said, "I'm just here sitting in the parking lot sleeping." And at some point, he interjected, "Am I being detained or am I free to go?"
Mm-hmm.
That's when they let him go.
So the AR and the shotgun were being held by people calling themselves officers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The costumed, violent, evil gang who honestly believe that they are righteous and more righteous than you and I. That's what I always want to tell people. They do not have any more right than you or I, except in your mind.
Right.
Now, if you're willing to go to jail because it's in your mind, it's a choice.
Well, I think if you ask them their name and badge number and then, am I under arrest? Am I free to go? They kind of say, this guy knows their game. So
right.
I think they can't intimidate you as much if you just stick to your guns like that.
Oh, they'll still play games.
Oh,
like,
they'll
okay,
still,
step out of the car.
Yeah.
Go sit over there.
Yeah,
Go
show us
stand
your
over there.
papers.
Yes.
Right.
Show us your ID.
And you go, no, I'm good.
Yeah, the last time I got pulled over, it was supposedly for I had like a headlight out, and it was nighttime. It was dark out, and they're pulling me over to let me know that I had one headlight out. Like, oh, gee, thanks. I wouldn't have figured that out by myself. But I had a backpack sitting on the passenger seat, and they're like, "What's in the bag?" And I'm like, "I don't believe I have to answer that." Right?
Am I legally allowed?
Yeah.
Required to answer that question? No, you're not.
And they should expect you. They should expect you to say none of your effing business in that bag. It's my bag. Is that your bag?
Right.
Why are you so curious about my bag? Of course, then they drag you out of the car and beat you up. But 2 years later, you get $200,000. So.
Well, yeah, but still, like you shouldn't have to be literally subjected to their crap in the first place. So.
Yeah, if I would have known that I could have sued all these people each time I was falsely arrested like that, I probably would have never had to work.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Jet?
The only thought that I like to leave is the same thing that I keep saying everywhere. Every chance you get, every caller that comes in, every person you talk to, help them into the mindset that these are just other people. Whether they're running for the grand poobah of the universe or whatever it is, it's just another person. They're not special. That's it.
Hey, Jet, thank you for the call. We appreciate you, man. 603-283-6160. Just to finish off here, number 6 on this summary by an AI of Lysander Spooner's No Treason, the Constitution of No Authority. Ultimately, individuals have no obligation to follow unjust and illegitimate government and have the right to resist and overthrow it. I couldn't have said that any better. However, most people would follow that with, well, what do we replace it with? Nothing. Nothing. The answer is nothing. It doesn't need,
Let's take a few years off, okay?
What do we replace slavery with? Nothing. Right?
More slavery.
No.
That's not the right answer.
A new and improved slavery. No.
Ultimately, individuals have no obligation to follow, period. Right? The Constitution, period. Any government, period. Right? You have no obligation because, as Jet explained, they are just people. They believe, they hallucinate the illusion of authority, and then they will use that to beat you. And if you resist, throw you in a cage. And if you resist that, they will kill you. but you have no obligation to follow them. Spooner's arguments, this is so they listed the 6 bullet points, and then there's a summary of the summary, I guess. Spooner's arguments are rooted in his belief in natural rights and individual sovereignty, which he sees as being incompatible with a coercive and centralized government, such as that established by the Constitution. He argues that individuals should be free to govern themselves and form voluntary associations rather than being subjected to the rule of a distant and unaccountable government. I mean,
Ding, ding, ding.
Like,
there you go.
I've read the Constitution of No Authority. It's not 8th grade reading level, right? I mean, it's college reading level, right? And it's kind of a chore, right? There's some really good stuff in it, but it's a bit of a chore to read
good
through
thing
it.
the AI chatbot figured it out.
When I read this, I'm like, this is an excellent summary.
Right, you can hand this out as a piece of paper to, on a flyer.
Absolutely. It wouldn't be very difficult to do at all.
Are we printing some out right now?
I think that's a secret message from the ghost of Lysander Spooner.
I heard a machine kick. I'm like,
hello, is that you?
I'm like, what's going on, man?
They're printing the flyers right now.
Spooner's faxing
Did somebody
us from
say flyers?
Spooner's faxing us from the grave.
Yep.
So yeah, I will post a link to this over on our social media as well, in case you want to view it or make it into something.
Are there a lot of other good topics that Twitter X person has on their feed?
I don't know. I've been following this account for some time, but this is the first time it ever jumped out at me and amongst all the noise, right?
Right.
I'm always scrolling when in between stuff, scroll. Every now and again something jumps out at me, right? And so that's just kind of how I do social media at this point in my life. I'm not really all that engaged. I don't. I no longer get into long, drawn-out arguments.
I just scroll for memes. That's
online
really
with people who want to debate and make points and all that kind of. It's like I don't want to do that.
It's not even worth it anymore.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I used to
Someone else
engage.
can do that.
I used to engage far more where people would argue about. Well, without the states, what would X,
take the
right?
roads?
And
I
all
just
this
don't
kind of
have
thing.
the capacity. It's such low level thinking. I don't have the capacity for it anymore. I'm I'm not going to explain something that the Tuttle twins explains to children to you. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, it does get tiring. And also, there are far better ways to acquire the knowledge of which we speak, right? Lysander Spooner, for example.
Or Tuttle twins.
There have been, anarchist authors are older than dirt, right? Anarchist thought isn't new by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that the internet, of course, in the same way it allowed things to be created, like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, for example, allows a faster spread of information. So at first, all of the old authors got more distributed.
A new lease on life.
Right? And then other people started talking about it too, because you have to put these things into modern terminology for younger people to understand them. So that's how we got to where we're at. 603-283-6160. Still to come, brain implants and why people don't want to turn them off.
What?
It's coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
After excitedly posting an image of a Lamborghini Rebenton to his Facebook account earlier this afternoon, 38-year-old little boy Nick Weber talked to Onion reporters about his passion for fast cars.
When I saw that car, I was like, whoa, it was so cool. I had to show it to all my friends. I like red cars the best, but only ones that are really, really fast. I can't wait to get one when I'm older. I'm going to get the fastest car in the whole world.
The Weber also frequently posts about his other interests, which include motorcycles, fighter jets, and Marvel superhero Iron Man. The nearly 40-year-old small child confirmed that sports cars are his favorite, and the picture of the bright yellow Lamborghini has already garnered 15 likes and 9 comments from other enthused middle-aged children who are friends with Weber on the social networking site.
My best friend Bradley, he sent me a picture of a blue convertible that's so awesome. It has these big wheels and even has a racing stripe on it.
After watching several online videos of fast cars and eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch, the home-owning little tyke went to his room to take a nap.
This is the Onion News Network.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Benji Haya with a roundup of the biggest headlines from this past week, a week which ended with Hungary blocking a €55 billion or $55 billion aid package for Ukraine, just hours after an agreement was reached for Kiev to start accession talks with the bloc. Hungary maintains close relations with Russia. Pablo Gutierrez reports from Budapest.
Prime Minister Viktor Orban vowed to oppose Ukraine's EU membership in the future. Orban, during his weekly radio address, said Hungary faced economic difficulties in 2023, but dealt with them on its own. He also expressed his reasoning for his veto on the EU's plan to give €50 billion in aid to Ukraine, saying it could negatively affect Hungary.
EU leaders say Ukraine will not be left without support. The war-torn nation's critically dependent on European and American backing as it continues to fight occupying Russian forces. US President Joe Biden insists failing to provide additional aid to Ukraine would be the greatest Christmas gift to Russia's leader Vladimir Putin. In a meeting on Tuesday at the White House with his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky, Mr. Biden urged lawmakers to pass the supplementary funding. But with a 3-week recess looming, the hopes of Congress reaching a deal by the end of the year remain in the balance. Also on Capitol Hill, the House of Representatives has voted to formally open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden, accusing him and his family of corruption. Ira Spitzer has the details.
On this vote, the yeas are 221 and the nays are 212. The resolution is adopted.
All 221 House Republicans voted to move forward with the impeachment inquiry, while all 212 Democrats were in opposition. The inquiry against President Biden will give them more power to gather evidence ahead of a possible impeachment attempt early next year. Republicans have long alleged corruption in the Biden administration, much of it centered around the president's son Hunter Biden's business dealings, although they have yet to present any conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. In a statement, Biden said Republicans were wasting time on what he called a baseless political stunt.
As Israel continues with its bombardment of Gaza, there are growing rifts between the government there and the administration stateside, with Joe Biden criticizing Israel for what he calls its indiscriminate bombing, which he fears is losing the country international support. US intelligence suggests nearly half of the Israeli munitions dropped on Gaza are what's known as dumb bombs, in other words, unguided and therefore potentially imprecise. Mr. Biden hit out at what he labels the most conservative government in Israel's history, condemning it for seemingly not wanting a two-state solution. This whilst the United Nations General Assembly voted in favour of a draft resolution urging an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. More than 3/4 of the 193-member General Assembly backed the move, which was vetoed by the United States in the Security Council. Here's Jody Jacobs from the UN headquarters in New York.
153 member states have voted in favour of the resolution, calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, demanding that all parties comply with their obligations under international law and the unconditional release of all hostages. But before the vote, both the United States and Austria tried to push for amendments to the text, which it says did not condemn Hamas, but this failed. Egypt, who tabled the resolution, told the General Assembly that the resolution is a very simple, clear and explicit one and is long overdue, saying the killings need to stop. Resolutions by the General Assembly are not legally binding, but they do carry immense moral weight. The world has spoken, says one diplomat here in New York, but we'll have to wait and see whether either side in this Middle East conflict adheres to this resolution.
The UK government has won a crucial vote on a controversial plan to send some asylum seekers to Rwanda to have their claims processed there. The new legislation is designed to address concerns raised by the country's Supreme Court in a ruling last month, which declared the plan unlawful. Ollie Barrett's been following from London.
If Prime Minister Rishi Sunak had lost this vote in the UK's Parliament, it would have led to questions about the future of his leadership of the Conservative Party. But this victory is not the end of the story in a party which is divided on the issue. Some Conservative lawmakers hope to toughen the legislation as it makes its way through Parliament in the coming months. Others say if the plan is toughened any further, it could breach international law and they would withdraw their support. The bill, voted on by lawmakers, seeks to declare Rwanda a safe country to send asylum seekers to and to reduce the likelihood of legal challenges. The opposition Labour Party says the plan is a gimmick and it would scrap it if it wins the next election.
And representatives from 198 nations have agreed on a climate deal at the COP28 summit in Dubai. The text calls on all countries to transition away from the use of fossil fuels, but not to phase them out. And that's your week in review.
Everyone in a bustling Chinese parade is attempting to elude pursuers. Newly discovered cave paintings suggest early man was battling a lot of inner demons, and a xylophonist is shredding it. This Tuesday, FBI officials disclosed details of a disturbing al-Qaeda plot to just kick back, relax, and savor the inevitable collapse of the United States. Intelligence agencies confirmed the massive coordinated plan involves terrorist cells across the globe, training specifically to take a load off and unwind as America's political infighting, class divides, moral indolence, and environmental self-destruction gradually tear the nation apart.
Our righteous warriors will devote our time to relaxing and really soaking in the infidels' self-destruction. America's cities will be reduced to ruins. The economy will come to a standstill. And we, the Blessed of Islam, will kick back, put our feet up, and enjoy the show. It's going to be great.
This is the Onion News Network.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
And we're back. And we're live.
And we're free.
And we're talking. What does that mean?
We're live.
What does it all mean?
Oh, it's Free Talk Live.
Very well.
The Sunday night edition.
Give me a talk. Give me a live.
What does it spell?
What does it spell?
What
It doesn't
does
spell
that
anything.
spell?
It doesn't really spell anything. It's a phrase. It's actually not even that, because if you look at like our logo behind you, Nikki, it says www.freetalklive.com, and there's no spaces, of course. And actually, those are all capital
there's
letters.
spaces in the actual title.
There is. That's true.
That's
the
just
broken,
the website.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess you've got me there.
Freet Alk Alive?
Yeah. 603-283-6160 is the phone number if you'd like to join us in the studio. It's myself, the captain.
Steve Classic.
And Nikki.
You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual Fork Fest. 8 years. Wow. At Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which has sold out in recent years. Fork Fest happens the weekend before Porcupine Freedom Festival, and Fork Fest is decentralized. What does that mean? Well, it means there's no ticket cost, and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, your RV site, or your motel room with Rogers Campground for June 13th through the 16th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. You can find links to all of those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 13th through the 16th, forkfest.party. And just one other thought on Forkfest. You have to bring something. And by bring something, I mean, maybe it's just yourself. Maybe you're just going to chill and enjoy it. But, like, if you want there to be an event, will create one.
Bring the noise.
Bring the event.
This
Be
is
the
the
event.
self-responsibility.
Yeah. If you want there to be a food truck, well, be a food truck, right? That kind of a thing, right?
I've always wanted to be a food truck.
I want to talk about Dot Party. You should have Captain Kickass Dot Party.
The last Fork Fest,
I gotta tell you,
Captain threw a party.
I did, yeah. I had an EP release
He played the guitar and everything.
party. I did, yeah. Pseudo live performance. I mean, it was a live performance. I was live.
You were playing
and
it.
I was performing.
Yeah.
But I was playing along with the music videos that I produced.
Yeah.
And I have video of that whole thing that I haven't released yet. So hopefully I'll get around to doing that because it's pretty cool. I've seen it. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. So
There was a couch there and everything.
there was a couch. There were couch surfers.
Yeah.
There were attendees.
What didn't that country singer? There was a special a guest appearance by like Toby Keith or
I
something.
think it was Toby Keith. Yeah, he totally showed
Toby
up.
Keith was even
He
there.
was there. It's true.
Yeah.
There were witnesses, and it's on video.
Wasn't it Keith Toby? They just had the name back.
Never trust a man with two first names. Toby Keith. So, there you go.
You got to save that video for the box set.
I thought about like editing it up, cutting it out. It's not that long. It's like
release the whole thing. Release it.
It's like 30 minutes tops.
Yeah, just
right?
release it.
And like literally half of it is the music videos playing and me playing, along with the music videos or whatever. So, the rest of it is there's a bit of a Q&A. And there's some things in there, like I thanked some people that I would like to have that on the internet.
Yeah.
That I'm giving thanks to the people who helped me put that music together. There was a couple of guest spots. I did everything. I did all the music, all the playing, all the singing, all the drumming, except for on one song I had my friend Steven do the drumming, and on another song I had my friend Chris do the bass playing. So there you have it.
And Bob's your uncle?
Well, he was before he died anyway. This from the dailymail.co.uk, and by the, I mean just dailymail.co. Anyway. .co.uk. Dailymail.co.uk.
Dot party.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's UK. That's how I refer to it. Oh, yeah. Oh, you live over in Uck? Brain implant for people with head injuries is so successful that the trial participants refuse to turn the device off.
That doesn't sound like that's really how that went down. Like that sounds like some like major propaganda to me. Like 9% of whatever, all these people that got lobotomies are so impressed with the results.
Well, you know what I say.
Like they can't speak anymore.
You know what I say about lobotomies, right?
No, what do you say about lobotomies?
I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.
Okay.
That's a shout out to all my old Dr. Demento peeps and Tom T-Bone Stankus and the Front Porch Rockers for their hit song, The Existential Blues and The Existential Blues Part 2. Anyway, a brain implant designed for people with head injuries has proven so successful during trials that participants refused to turn the device off. The deep brain stimulation implant created by researchers at Stanford University, Stanford experiments, weird, at Stanford University to help people with head injuries to function again, attempts to boost brain activity between the regions in charge of memory, thinking, problem solving, and consciousness learning. 5 people with head injuries reported they were able to concentrate, remember, drive, and get through the day without needing to nap as a result of using the device during the trial.
Maybe I should try that.
These will come in handy in the 15-minute cities.
And it proved so effective that 2 participants, chosen at random, refused to have the device turned off. Like, no, you've cured me. Why would I turn this off? Right?
I feel like this is how it starts, right? They like put these implants in your brain and it works really, really well.
Next thing you know,
And then-
Skynet.
Yeah, but I feel like I've seen this movie.
This is how the
before.
stormtroopers get created. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
something like
only if they did
that.
this to officers, right? Yeah. Police and military and that kind of thing. I have seen, there's a meme going around now that says, what if this is the way it all turned out? And it's a picture of like the Terminator robot, right? But it's got like a trumpet like it's playing a trumpet.
Yeah.
And instead of Skynet, it says Skynet.
Oh gosh, I feel like I've seen that actually. That'd be better, right? Better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Skynet over Skynet, yes.
Yep.
Even though I'm not really a fan of ska.
But I'm more a fan of that than like total world domination.
Participants for this trial were selected based on their injuries, with those who took part having previously recovered from comas. In these patients, those pathways are largely intact, but everything has been down-regulated, said Dr. Jamie Henderson, professor of neurosurgery. It's as if the lights had been dimmed and there just wasn't enough electricity to turn them back up. By introducing electrical stimulation in specific areas of the brain, researchers hoped to turn the lights back up. They used virtual models of each of the participants' brains to trial stimulation in different areas. The devices were then implanted into the brains of participants aged between 22 and 60. They then spent 90 days with it turned on for 12 hours a day.
They're probably sleeping the other 12 hours.
Researchers say that by the end of the trial, the mental processing speeds of participants had improved by an average of 32%.
Wow, imagine if we could do that to everybody.
When one participant had their device turned off for 3 weeks, their ability to process dropped by 34%. One participant said that since receiving the implant, they had seen a vast improvement in their functioning abilities. I don't trip anymore, they said. Are they talking about drugs? Or are they talking about like being a klutz?
You don't have to trip anymore because you're on the brain implant.
I don't trip anymore, they said. I can remember how much money is in my bank account. I wasn't able to read, but after the implant, I bought a book.
Okay.
Doesn't say they can read now, just says they bought a book. Dr. Nicholas Schiff, a professor at Weill Cornell Medicine and co-senior author of the study, told The Telegraph, the aim is to take the research from the pioneering moment forward into therapy.
They're going hot. It's going hot.
I mean, when I first tried to move to New Hampshire, I failed. I got into an accident. I nearly died.
Black ice.
I didn't really nearly die, but like it,
your life probably flashed before
dramatic,
you.
I would say.
Yeah, I still think about it, and
Yeah.
like it's one of those times in my life where I'm like, oh man, I've been into several vehicle accidents, and it's certainly not my favorite. But
Which one was your favorite?
But I did. Well, the one when I was pretty certain I was going to die.
That was your favorite?
That was your
accident?
favorite?
Yeah, because I tried to keep my eyes open as long as possible to just I'm like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna soak all this in. You know,
I'm just going to watch it. It's the last thing I'm ever going to see. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. But at any rate, I did when I got in my accident, the first time I tried to move here and hit the black ice or whatever, I did hit my head repeatedly on the side, right? On there were no.
Yeah.
I was driving a '97 Toyota 4Runner, and they didn't have side airbags, and so my head just sort of bounced off of the side of the above the door frame there several times. I remember digging like glass out of my ears like a couple days later. Still,
wow.
Like, well, how did that happen? So I do feel like I felt a reduction in my cognitive abilities, my ability to recall, my ability to, phrase certain things. I felt like I wasn't catching on as quickly as I did before. Like I was smarter. I got into this accident and I was dumber. Right. I don't know how else to put that in like layman's terms.
I mean, it makes sense,
not
though,
a
right? It's a brain
neuroscientist,
injury, technically.
Yeah.
Right.
My medical folks think that I had a concussion, and maybe I did, but like long term, I don't feel quite right. Like my original cognitive speed has decreased, and like part of that is getting old too, right?
Right.
It was when this happened. Let's see, if I was in my early 40s, I guess, when that happened, because it took me like 5 more years to get out there, and so in my late 40s by the time I got here. So age has something to do with mental decline, right? One of the things like smart, wealthy people are after. You hear about them trying to get like blood transfusions from like younger people and all this kind of thing.
Trafficked children,
right? Because they're literally upset and jealous that a 16-year-old kid can mentally out gymnastic them. You know what I mean? Like it's just how it is, right? Youth is far more adaptable, adjustable. They pick up things quicker than older people do. So like there's some of that, but like I'm convinced that getting into this accident, hit my head a couple of times, made me dumber as a result, or at least less quick to process information, to think about, like, sometimes.
So you think a brain implant would help you?
Well, I don't know, but if it did, I might also be reluctant to take it out, right? If it helped.
Yeah.
Right. If that's what the intention was to actually help you. But I think this stuff has a sinister ending.
That's what I'm saying. Like at first, I'm sure it does help you a lot. And then next thing you know, it takes over your mind.
I wonder what the transhumanists think about this.
They probably love it.
They're behind it. I think Elon's behind this too, right? Isn't he doing brain implants? I don't know if that's
I think
true
so.
or not.
Yeah, he wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think so.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm not into it.
Don't do it, Captain. Don't do it.
I mean, I'm like I can afford it anyway.
It's a free trial.
Free trial.
Come on, just sign here below the fine print.
Free trial.
Free trial.
Yeah. You can get one of these in combination with your COVID-19 vaccine.
Right. Get your booster.
You know what? I was thinking about this the other day, just because I said COVID. Remember when it was called coronavirus?
Coronavirus.
Why did that change?
It's just the shorter version of it.
The
right?
beer company was a little upset.
Yeah, no, they were. We talked about that here on the radio show, but like
people are so dumb. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I forgot about that.
It's like a
It's
lot
just
of
the abbreviation.
A lot of libertarians talk about like psyops and indoctrination and how the media is affecting you and your daily lives and all that. And it's almost like everybody just agreed to stop calling it corona.
Well, so my thing with the coronavirus is it's not a very good descriptive word for it, right? Because there are tons of coronaviruses. You know what I mean? Like there's thousands of them.
It's probably too long for the average person to say coronavirus. I need a quick nickname for it.
Yeah. I think it's just the shorter abbreviation of it. But it's
COVID-19
also
shorter than coronavirus.
But COVID-19 is the specific coronavirus because a coronavirus is a broad term. It's like saying, the cold. All right, well, which one? What are you talking? Which strain? So a COVID-19 is like the specific one that they're talking about, even though they're like, it's mutating. It mutates. That's the nature of that's what viruses do. They mutate.
I feel like Moderna and Pfizer's marketing companies got together and were like, guys, we got to rebrand this.
Yeah, they're like, we need to
What about calling it cerveza sickness? No, that won't work.
Like Corona's already upset. Their sales are down.
Yeah, they're like,
they can't even give their beer away.
We're barely selling these vaccines.
But if we call it cerveza, it has a beer connotation.
Maybe they should have put the vaccine in the Corona.
They probably
did.
I don't want to give them any ideas. Yeah.
They were already putting it in lettuce and whatever.
Hey, they're putting
else.
fluoride in the water.
Yeah.
Put it.
Now I'm thinking of fluoridated lettuce.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Thanks, guys. Way to be a team.
Yeah. Eat spinach. But I mean, even organic spinach, it might be watered with fluoridated water.
I don't trust anything.
It's not
I'm
spinach.
just like, I don't know. I'm real excited to be able to have a big, abundant garden that the government has nothing to do with.
Speaking of garden.
Speaking of garden. Yeah, okay, that's a good segue. This from RT.com. Missing space tomato found.
Oh, thank God. I was looking for that.
I know. I was so upset.
Me too.
I can't believe it took them so long. The space-grown fruit mysteriously disappeared 8 months ago.
Is it still a tomato?
My name's Bob, and I'm a tomato, and I'm here to help you out. VeggieTales? Anyone?
VeggieTales? No.
Okay.
I love VeggieTales. That was how I learned. That was my church experience when I was a child. They would lock us in a room and put on VeggieTales.
I was dating this girl, and we were going to go over to her friend's house because she was having a bit of a shindig, having some people over. And so we show up, we're early, or the hostess was late in getting her kids out the door so she could have the party with the adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the kids were watching VeggieTales. Now,
Yeah.
my girlfriend and I had just smoked a large joint.
Oh, that's great.
On our way over.
That's a vegetable.
And
isn't it?
so, yeah. So I'm experiencing a nice veggie buzz.
Yeah.
Right. And they're watching, and like this this tomato comes
I'm
on
sure
screen.
that's so trippy.
And he's
yeah.
like, my name's Bob, and I'm a tomato, and I'm here to... I just started cracking up.
And you're like,
I just started laughing.
I'm way too high for this.
Yeah, literally. And they're like,
Can we
what's
just sit here
wrong
and
with
watch
you? And I'm
this?
like, I'm going to go outside for a minute till I stop having this uncontrollable
You're like,
laugh.
I need some air. This tomato's talking to me.
The talking tomato
Like,
has
yo, what do you put in this weed?
has really sort of like made me question reality here. But turns out it was just VeggieTales.
Turns out it's just a children's cartoon. Nothing to see here.
So anyway, astronauts aboard the International Space Station, ISS, have announced the discovery of an elusive space-grown dwarf tomato that went missing over 8 months ago. The diminutive red robin tomato, measuring a mere 2.5 centimeters wide, was part of the final harvest of the Veg-05 experiment, designed to explore the impact of spaceflight on fruit crop growth. That's right. Tomatoes are fruits, everybody. If you didn't know that, now you do.
Mm-hmm.
Also, while I'm thinking about it, dear children, Santa Claus is not real. It's your parents.
Oh, really?
Following the harvest on March 29th, each crew member received a crop sample in a plastic bag and was asked to rate the flavor, texture, and juiciness of the produce grown under different lighting conditions. However, U.S. astronaut Frank Rubio, who was part of the Veg-05 agriculture experiment, claimed that his portion had floated away before he could take a bite, which was met with playful skepticism by the rest of the crew.
You lost your tomato.
You ate it, dude. Don't lie. You big fibber. You know you ate your tomato. We don't see it anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not around here. We even looked under the bed, man.
Throw another one, man.
Quote, our good friend Frank Rubio, who headed home already, has been blamed for quite a while for eating the tomato. But we can exonerate him. We found the tomato, unquote, said astronaut Jasmine Mogbel during a live streamed event last Wednesday that celebrated the ISS 25th anniversary, as cited by Space.com.
Were they using the tomato as like look? There's the red planet. They put it outside the window and took pictures of it.
Yeah, they had the model of all the planets, and the tomato was like Mars or something. Yeah.
That's what they used it for. Look, it's round.
And it's red. It's the red planet. The astronaut did not specify where the tiny veggie was located on the gigantic space station or in what condition it was found. Okay, so they found it, but so then that means
where it was.
No, that means somebody took it. It's been HOing, right? Holding on.
Yeah.
Right? They've been holding on to it. And they're like, oh, okay, I guess it's
practical.
It's like
joke.
hey, look, I found the tomato. I don't know where it was.
Yeah, it's like stealing someone's garden gnome. Like, oh, I don't know where it is.
That reminds me of another thing I read where, like, the idea is that you gift somebody a garden gnome, and then whenever you go over to their house, you replace it with a slightly larger garden gnome of the same, same clothing, same, kind of look, and so like it appears as if the garden gnome is growing
bigger
over time.
That's pretty funny.
The tomato, which had become amusing as an anecdote among ISS crew members, was initially brought to public attention by Rubio in September during an event he held in space. How do you hold an event in space?
This was lost for 8 months, this tomato?
Yeah.
It didn't rot?
Well, again,
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, is it still a tomato?
Did it go through like a wormhole and reappear in the future?
Maybe.
They did say...
Maybe it's just a different tomato and they're lying.
They did say they did not specify where the tiny veggie was located on the gigantic space station.
It was in the refrigerator.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Have you looked under the couch? Do they even have a couch? So it was initially brought to public attention by Rubio in September during an event he held in space. The occasion marked an unexpected record-setting year in orbit for the American astronaut. I spent so many hours looking for that thing, Rubio said at the time. I'm sure the desiccated tomato will show up at some point and vindicate me years in the future. It's like I just predicted the future.
Yeah.
Except I predicted what happened to the tomato, that it went through some sort of a wormhole.
A time warp or
reappeared
something.
in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they didn't specify. He then mentioned
classified.
It. Right. He then classified. We found the tomato classified. He then mentioned it again after his return to Earth, telling journalists in October he spent 18 to 20 hours of his time looking for the fruit, but it never showed up. Frank Rubio, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, had accidentally set a new record for the longest U.S. space flight. He spent 371 days in orbit. Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I mean, thank God they found that tomato. What would they have done had they not found the tomato ever? 603-283-6160. Final segment of Free Talk Live still to come.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Aid trucks have been permitted to pass into Gaza through Israel's Karim Shalom crossing for the first time. This is expected to deliver twice as much support to Gaza along with existing aid that's passing through Egypt's Rafah crossing. Trent Murray reports from Tel Aviv.
Now, this 200 trucks a day was part of the original negotiation done by the Israeli government and Hamas during that ceasefire we saw last month. The Israelis said as part of the agreement they would allow 200 trucks a day in, but because of bottlenecks at Rafah, they were only able to manage around 100. So it's expected that this new one should, as you say, double it, which will hopefully come as quite welcome news to civilians on the ground, but also aid agencies who are saying food, water and medicine is in very short supply within the besieged strip.
Meanwhile, US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is heading to Tel Aviv as part of a multi-day tour of the Middle East. While in Israel, he is expected to call for a narrower military operation in Gaza in order to avoid triggering regional tensions. According to a senior Pentagon official, Lloyd Austin will, quote, underscore the unwavering US commitment to Israel's right to defend itself in accordance with international humanitarian law, and he'll discuss the steps Israel is taking to, quote, mitigate civilian harm. He's also expected to discuss with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and its Defense Minister Yoav Gallant the next stages of the conflict, notably how Israel plans to transition from its ground campaign and airstrikes in Gaza to a more focused operation against Hamas. These talks are set to the backdrop of climbing civilian casualties in Gaza. More than 18,000 people have been killed in the conflict, according to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. And US markets have been on a tear, posting gains for 7 straight weeks. President Joe Biden is using the rally to try and boost voter confidence in the economy, heading into a pivotal election year. Ira Spitzer reports.
Investors aren't the only ones happy about the rally on Wall Street, which saw the Dow reach multiple record highs last week. A new Biden campaign video opens by mocking Donald Trump's prediction that a Biden victory in 2020 would lead to a stock market collapse.
You're going to have a stock market collapse, the likes of which you've never had.
Another record day on Wall Street.
It's one of the first times in this election cycle that Biden has taken direct aim at the former president and Republican frontrunner. It's also an attempt to address one of Biden's weaknesses among voters concerned about the cost of living. A recent New York Times poll found that voters in swing states said they trusted Trump over Biden by a wide margin on the economy.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
we go.
Don't laugh at me.
They're all gonna laugh at you. They're all gonna laugh at you. That's from something. Is it
I
from
don't
like
know.
Carrie or something? The mom's like, "You gotta go. They're all gonna laugh at you," or something. I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Carrie was a scary movie. They even remade it too, and that one was it was an adequate remake. I really hate remakes though.
Because they get
Me
too
too. It's like,
detailed.
come on, man.
I'm so tired
Just
of it's
do
like
the regular one.
It's like I realized that there was like I don't know some sort of a actors writers strike. I don't know what it was. Something going on in Hollywood that stopped production of everything for whatever reason. Because we make too much money. We got to stop. I don't know. But like, oh my gosh, man, there are so many writers on planet Earth.
Yeah, you can't. You guys can't come up with any new material.
There are so many, like, or at the very least, go dig into the the mostly unknown bin of movies that were made, in a time where they should have waited for tech.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. Yes, like some sci-fi stuff where it's like, guys really didn't have the special effects to be able to, pull this one off.
I have a specific movie in mind. I've mentioned this before. It is a post-apocalypse movie starring George Peppard and Jan Michael Vincent. Those of you who don't know, George Peppard played Hannibal Smith in the A-Team in the 80s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Jan Michael Vincent was the lead actor in Airwolf, also in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So, at any rate, and they did stuff before that, right? They were actors before that. They did a whole bunch of acting, and so they were stars at the time. So, anyway, the movie is called Damnation Alley. And, yeah, it spot on hits those points, right? Like they're trying to fight giant radiated mutated cockroaches, right?
Yeah.
So basically they filmed some cockroaches and then poorly edited them into
yes, I love that.
It's you watch it now and it's laughably horrible, right?
Yeah.
But they did have some cool things. They had they found these amphibious military vehicles that instead of having one wheel, it had 3 wheels in sort of a triangle thing. And so if like one of the tires blew out, the thing would just flip over and move to the next tire or the next wheel, I guess, because it's a fully functional wheel. But also it could go in water. It was amphibious. So that was pretty cool. There's a bunch of other stuff in there that I can't remember, but like
that's something that should be
go
remade.
reach into the like nobody's ever heard of this film because it was so horrible that it flopped at the box office and like do it some justice, right? There's plenty of really good stories out there that got poorly made. Like instead of remaking something,
like classics too. You know what I mean? Like you can't remake a classic. It's just kind of like, ugh.
Could they remake the Blues Brothers?
Well, they made a second one, and that didn't.
That wasn't a remake.
Well,
or like Animal House or Caddyshack. Can you get any of those original?
No, because those are classics. I don't want those remade. I want like obscure titles.
Yeah.
Crap that nobody's ever heard. Oh, did you know that this movie was originally made in 1974 or whatever, and it totally flopped at the box office. It never went to DVD.
Well, a lot of times like that. Like if you
but
hear
it's a good story,
right? If you hear a song though, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but it's like, I love that song. But it was a remake of something in the 50s or whatever.
Well, and they used to do that a lot. Like a bunch of the Beatles, like their like first couple of albums were all covers, and that was kind of, there wasn't too much new material going on in the 50s and the 60s. It was like, oh, okay, it's like
a remake.
I mean, I'm trying to think.
Musically, they call it a cover. But
Connie Francis. It's like every single song she ever did was a cover. Like I don't even know if she has any original music. You know.
Yeah. Before we go on, I do want to say thank you to tonight's amplifier. Tonight's amplifier is Gnostic Wretch. Gnostic Wretch gives us $5 per month via the AMPS program. What is the AMPS program, you might ask?
Tell us, Captain.
I will. You can go visit amps.freetalklive.com to find out all of the details. It's a Patreon type of setup. And we only ask for $5 a month. There's different levels. There's a silver and gold and platinum levels, whatever, depending on how much you want to give. But it allows you to donate some money to help get this radio station onto more, or this radio program onto more radio stations. We're currently on, I think, 180, 200 stations is what Mark said. We could be on 250.
We got to nail that number down.
350. I think we only get to find out like once a year. Or something like
really?
That. Yeah.
That sounds strange.
I know, but I don't know how to do it. Otherwise, I would, and you would know.
Right.
So, Mark, if you're listening, figure that out.
We need that number.
but we could be on way more radio stations. So if you enjoy this program, the hosts, the co-hosts, the callers, the perspective of freedom, prosperity, peace, non-aggression that we bring to the airwaves, you think that the message of freedom is worthy of spreading to more people, please consider becoming an amplifier over at amps.freetalklive.com. Thank you again, Gnostic Wretch. We appreciate you. amps.freetalklive.com. All right, so I think because it's Sunday, we're just going to go with this from Vice.
Is that still a thing? Vice? I thought they were...
Vice.com? Yeah.
Let's
see, when was this? December 12th, 2023?
Wow.
A man escaped prison after botched penis enlargement.
That happened to me.
Man escaped. Did the penis enlargement?
I have so many questions
help
that
get out of prison?
Immediately I'm like, wait, can I say that on the radio?
Probably not.
So I'm not going to.
Maybe the other prisoners were complaining.
It was
he had a penis enlargement. I don't know.
It was almost the perfect plan minus the agonizing pain part.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
It was almost the perfect plan. Thanapat Mayad, age 37, was serving a sentence for theft in a prison in the city of Pattaya, Thailand.
Oh.
When he started feeling pain in his private parts, according to the Thai newspaper, the Bangkok Post.
Oh, jeez.
Not a typo. Before being put in prison, Mayad underwent a series of injections to enlarge his penis. But last week, Mayad was admitted to a local hospital after his genitals became severely infected.
Oh.
At some point while in the hospital, Mayad came up with the plan to escape. He called his wife, who allegedly then smuggled in a pair of pliers.
For what?
Oh, no,
to pick the lock on his, or for what?
Oh, no.
On Friday, Mayad underwent surgery to deal with his infected genitals, then hours later escaped.
And here's where the pliers come in.
Mayad allegedly used the pliers. A drum roll, please. To cut through his ankle chains at around 2 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Video later published online showed a hunched-over Mayad limping towards a nearby elevator.
So they don't have guards? They're just, this dude's just like chilling in the hospital room alone?
Why was he limping? Because of the cutting the chain or because of the infected junk?
I'm going to go with
both.
E, all of the above.
Yes.
E, all of the above. When hospital officials noticed that he was gone from his 7th floor room, authorities.
Oh, no, the authorities.
Steve's favorite word.
Yeah. Oh, officials are my... That's my word.
Sorry, my bad. Authorities immediately began hunting for him. Did they get a hunting license?
Do you have a license?
Sorry, do you have a license to hunt this man? They focused their search on the surrounding buildings and wards, reportedly believing he couldn't have gotten far because he still had a urine tube inserted in his genitals.
I mean,
he had the pliers. He could probably pull that out.
Ooh. I've seen that before, and it is a mess. Oh, God.
Gotta hurt. Hopefully he's got something to bite down on so it doesn't,
It's just take the saline
chomp his
out.
tongue off.
Just take it out the right way, please. Oh, no.
Prison officials.
Oh, there they are, the officials.
No, not the officials.
The officials.
Prison officials announced his capture on Sunday, about 28 hours later, on the roof of a nearby building.
What? What is up with this guy?
I'll hide on the roof.
Maybe if I get some altitude, the blood will, I don't know.
Like, chill out, Batman.
Mayad reportedly told police that after fleeing the hospital, he ran into the nearby forest and threw the pliers away.
Oh, good.
Oh, see, the problem there is he talked to the police, told them what he did.
He then climbed a nearby power pole onto the roof of the hospital psychiatry ward.
Wow.
Crazy.
Roughly only 70 feet from where he had escaped.
I feel like he could have done better. I feel like he really could have.
So he
would have
out.
been better in the forest.
He got out. He used the pliers to break the chains on his ankles. Don't be breaking the chair now, Nikki. He used the pliers to break the chains on his ankles. He ran into the nearby forest. He chucked the pliers and then went
bet 70 feet back.
You know what? I gotta climb
onto the roof of a building.
I gotta climb this power pole onto this roof of a building that's about 70 feet away from where I
Those pain meds, though, man.
Yeah.
Like he was. And where's his wife? Didn't his wife come to pick him up? She wasn't gonna like give him a ride or something.
She gave him the pliers and she's out.
Yeah, she just came.
Here's
She
the
just came
pliers.
to bring the pliers and then dipped out.
Maybe she was, I don't know, getaway or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She wasn't impressed with the results of the surgery, so she was like, "I'm out of here."
She was like, I wanted it bigger, but this
Yeah.
is ridiculous. I can't look at that.
It's infected.
He then climbed the nearby power pole onto the roof of the hospital psychiatry ward roughly 70 feet from where he escaped. He stayed there, hiding under a black bag, reportedly in agonizing pain,
Yeah.
until he was discovered. I wonder how they discovered it. Like,
Why did he climb the pole?
These guys went on a hunt.
Like,
you know,
out of everything. I mean, maybe he thought it would be a good hiding spot, but if I'm like post-op with an infected, you know,
piece of junk.
Yeah, like catheters in and everything. He has like a pee bag. It's like, why are like that just seems like quite the endeavor. Like I wouldn't be able to do that like normally. Never mind in that condition.
This sounds like a job for junk removal service.
1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I have so many questions.
So he's back
Now,
in jail?
Maybe he thought that like the best hiding spot where they wouldn't look for him would be the hospital he just escaped from, right?
Yeah,
Right,
he's
why-
like, no one would ever be dumb enough to hide
Look for me
70
back
feet.
and hide. Yeah. I wonder if he tried to get back into the hospital to hide
Maybe.
there, or maybe
Or
he
maybe he was like, I need medical attention.
he was in so much pain.
Yeah, he should have. I don't know.
Before his capture, his wife reportedly admitted to smuggling in the pliers and told authorities that he escaped because he missed his family.
Yeah, sounds nice.
I mean, anybody,
Too bad your wife is a snitch.
Like,
oh my gosh.
anybody in any kind of prison, jail, whatever you want to call it. And
Misses
I
their
realized
family.
I realized this was a hospital, but he was still under arrest, right?
Yeah, he's still chained to a bed.
Yeah, had his ankles, chained up or whatever. But yeah, his wife is a snitch, apparently. She admitted to smuggling the pliers.
Because of the botched surgery. That's why she's a snitch.
Mayad still had 13 months remaining on his sentence, but
Now he has way more.
Yes, way more.
with new charges related to the escape, he could face an additional 3 years behind bars.
That sucks.
According to the Bangkok Post.
Yeah. If I was him, I would like try to not like you can't really plead insanity, I guess, but be like, oh, I was all hopped up on these pain meds. It wasn't my fault.
His wife was also charged with aiding his escape and could face up to 5 years for her role.
What?
Wow.
She's
in the
gonna
crime.
face
For a
more than
pair
him?
of pliers.
Yeah.
That's wild. This is why you don't talk to the cops.
Well, and now he's probably going, yeah, that's right, snitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
He's probably like, sweet, I get out. She's nowhere to be found. Woo, freedom.
That's crazy.
Yeah. This is a crazy story. That's it. That's the whole story. I just,
Wow.
like,
So what's the moral to the story? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
don't
Stay in the forest.
don't let your wife smuggle you pliers in the
Yeah.
prison hospital. Was it the prison hospital or was it just a hospital?
Probably just a hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, there we go.
Awesome.
What else do we have, Steve? Nikki? How about
the Tesla.
How about Tesla recalls nearly all U.S. vehicles over autopilot system defects?
I love this one.
Yeah.
No, I don't love it, but it's a good told you so moment for me because I've been saying this is going to happen. I just like being right, Sorry to everyone who was harmed by me being right, but I tried to warn you.
I actually don't like the fact, like when I'm right and it comes true, especially if it's horrific. It's not a thing that I don't want to be right about the state is evil.
Yeah.
I don't want to be
True.
right about the largest polluter on planet Earth is organizations calling themselves governments. I don't want to be right about the number one cause of death of all humans of all time is government. By orders of magnitude, like nothing else kills more people than government. I don't want to be right about any of that.
But you're right.
But I am. You can look it up for yourself You have a magic rectangle. If you don't, go get one. If you don't want one, then borrow somebody's. Look it up. It's not that
Or
hard to
just
do.
go to the library.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's books written on it. Whatever.
Go read that full version of Spooner's Constitution
go.
of No Authority.
There you go.
This from it's Mr. Zira.
Oh,
his
Al?
middle initial is J, and his first name is Al. Al J Zira.
You can call me Al.
You can call me Al. Tesla is recalling more than 2 million cars in the United States. I mean, if they've got autopilot, can't Tesla just be like,
we're turning it off, or we're updating it?
Come back to the dealership.
But
right?
that's the part that's messed up.
Well, what are they gonna? Isn't it just a software update?
Yeah, you would think it'd be a computer thing,
They
right?
download the software.
Yeah.
overnight.
Plug the internet into it.
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle. More than 2 million cars are being recalled by Tesla in the U.S. Nearly all of its vehicles sold there after a federal regulator said defects with the autopilot system pose a safety hazard. I wonder what the defects were. Yeah, the government doesn't have a back door to get into it.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
That's what they need. Yeah.
In a recall filing on Wednesday, the car maker said autopilot software system controls may not be sufficient to prevent driver misuse.
And we
What
need a
does
kill
that
switch.
mean?
How do you misuse autopilot?
Yeah.
Automated technology holds great promise for improving safety, but only when it is deployed responsibly, said a spokesperson for the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
An official.
Blah, blah, blah.
The NHTSA. NHTSA. Not to be confused with New Hampshire Transportation. Oh, well, anyway. Which has been investigating the autopilot function for more than 2 years.
Took them 2 years to figure out there's a problem.
Why would you, like, if there's a problem...
Don't you know immediately?
Well, why would you even allow the cars to be sold? Because, I mean, they're in a position to disallow things as a government, right? So, this makes no sense to me at all. Where did I leave off? There it is. The auto function more than 2 years. Today's action is an example of improving automated systems by prioritizing safety. The recall covers models Y, S, 3, and X.
Isn't that like all of them besides the Cybertruck?
Produced between October
Which is
5th,
not available.
October 5th, 2012 and December 7th, 2023. Speaking before the House of Representatives Wednesday, acting NHTSA Administrator Ann Carlson.
Acting
Administrator. That means, she wasn't good enough for
It's like a
real
like a
an
play,
acting one,
you know.
Yeah. We're just acting. Genius. Thank you. Said she was happy Tesla had agreed to a recall. Oh, I didn't realize they had a choice. Usually when the government gets involved, you ain't got no choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, do this or else.
Mhm.
That's all
I
it
don't
is.
think they did. I think that's the nice way to say it. Yeah. It's like gun to your head. You have a choice. Either you do this or
We're
I
happy
kill
that you agreed.
Yeah. Glad we could come to an agreement.
You did the right thing.
She said the agency first started investigating Tesla's autopilot function in August 2021 after hearing about several fatal crashes that occurred when autopilot was on.
So I'm glad they got right on this, Took care of this
Speedy.
issue right away, immediately.
Years later, yes. Nothing's as fast as the government.
Well, we just had to,
have to get a blue ribbon
ask the
commission.
committee, and then the committee for that committee.
Subcommittee.
And then, the subcommittee.
You know who will take care of things fast? Not the government.
Not the government, yeah.
One of the things we determined is that drivers are not always paying attention when that system is on.
Yeah, that's kind of the
Well,
point.
that's autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point.
What do you
Duh.
think
It took
people are
them.
gonna do?
How much money did it take them to figure that out?
Are you sure this isn't EBCAC? Error between keyboard and chair? Or I guess in this case, it's error between steering wheel and chair? EBSAC? Documents posted on Wednesday by the agency said the current autopilot design can lead to foreseeable misuse of the system. Okay, so hang on. Having done software QA for a period of time, I did what's called user perspective QA. So not automation, actual in-field testing of devices and software and apps and websites. The first thing that you're trained to do is to try and break it.
Yeah.
Right. And so that means misusing it.
Yep.
Right? Now, people sort of have a knack for doing this, right? whenever some new thing gets invented, there's always some person out there, some creative type, something, right, who thinks differently than the rest of planet Earth, and is like, you know what I could use this for?
Yes,
right? It's
something completely
no one
different
else
than
ever
the intended
predicted.
use.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what's happening here.
But it sounds like with that, it's the misuse is just not paying attention.
I don't know.
So
It says it can lead to foreseeable misuse of the system, and that changes to be instituted will further encourage the driver to adhere to their continuous driving responsibility. Well, wait
So
a minute.
basically, you could switch autopilot off and just drive.
Wait a minute.
That'll solve
Yeah.
the problem.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
What's the point of autopilot
Right.
if you have continuous driving responsibility?
Yeah.
Some experts have raised questions, like we have. Not that we're experts, over whether such steps go far enough.
Whoa.
The compromise is disappointing, said Phil Koopman, a professor of electrical and computer engineering at Carnegie Mellon University, who studies autonomous vehicle safety, told the Associated Press, because it does not fix the problem that older cars do not have adequate hardware for driver monitoring.
And
What?
they also don't have autopilot capabilities.
Right.
So how is this relevant?
Driverless cars, exalted by supporters as exciting technological advancements, have faced a series of setbacks in recent months. And this is just trying to, relate it to something else. In October, California suspended testing of the self-driving car firm Cruise after California's Department of Motor Vehicles raised questions about safety concerns.
I think there was some self-driving cars in San Francisco that
yeah,
they were testing.
were using it for like Uber or something.
And people just put a cone out in front of the car. He didn't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Just go against what they're. What
Oh,
they're
and there
doing.
was some kind of a hack for parallel parking, too, in those cars. I don't remember what it was, but it was similar to that.
Oh, I think. What do you mean by that? Like, because I would think. Isn't that a big feature that they would use?
Many people are horrible at parallel parking, right?
Oh, many people. I thought you said many people, and I was like trying to my brain is like doing the numbers
Yeah,
thing.
like
are
midget
short
wrestling.
people
Only the-
bad at driving or something?
Or are they driving a Mini?
Yeah, like a Mini Cooper.
Yeah. They have trouble parking.
So yes, but that was a huge feature with the Teslas, is people don't know how to parallel park because of reasons.
We're speeding towards idiocracy.
Somewhat related, and we're running short on time. You guys are familiar or have heard about this this movie produced by the Obamas?
No.
Oh, I saw it.
I saw it too.
What is it?
Yeah. Do you remember the name?
End the world, leave the world behind.
Leave the world behind. You're right. Yeah. So
Touch no child's behind.
well, that's what it should have been called. Particularly
Leave
if it
the
was
world
made
behind.
by,
Yeah.
at any rate, in the movie, and this is a spoiler, Nikki. So if you want to plug your ears
I
out.
don't
this has
care.
to deal
You
with the
can
Tesla. Yes.
Yeah, in
Go
the movie,
right ahead. I'm never gonna
in the
watch
movie,
it.
they're meandering down this road to try and see if they can get on down the road. They're in a sort of a remote area, and so they get in a car and they drive, and they see a whole bunch of what I assume are supposed to be Teslas.
They were Teslas.
Sort of parked on the freeway, right?
Oh, I think I saw
blocking
the picture of it.
any
Yeah.
traffic from going by.
Yeah,
and
I've
so
seen
they're
this picture.
standing there and they're looking at it weird, and a couple of them look like they've crashed into
Yeah,
each
yeah,
other
yeah.
and that
I've
kind
seen
of thing.
this photo.
And then all of a sudden they hear a thing, and the guy's like, "Oh gosh, I know what this is!" And he yells to the lady, "Hey, get out of the way, go!" And she jumps in the car and sort of maneuvers out of the way. Here comes another Tesla, boom, and slams into it. So they were remote piloting these things to create traffic jams. We're out of time. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Steve Classic, for joining me tonight. Thank you to our producers. Thank you to our callers, our listeners. If you missed any part of tonight's program, please find the archives over at freetalklive.com. Thanks and peace.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money